guess I did that just in time. It was about to stop my other it was about to cut my Facebook one. So it was like good. Whew, sweet. How are we doing tonight, brother?
What's up, man? We're live.
Yeah, I know. I know we're live. Give a couple minutes for Chris to get in here and also give people enough time to file in here. Get my notes in order for this show tonight. Oh, let me get that out of the way.
Sorry, hold on. I was echoing pretty hard because I forgot I had the stream on another tab. Sorry.
Okay.
ADDHDDD. Sorry.
Hey, and thank you everybody who tuned in. Also to you're getting there we go. Perfect.
There we go.
Let's see. Let me switch my background real quick. I want to switch this. I'm drawing a blank on how to do everything right now. That's how it goes when you get the I was about to make it. Let me not make a joke against elderly.
Are you saying boomer centric or something?
I mean, sometimes I start feeling like I'm getting in that mode. I'm getting old there. We're giving Chris a couple of minutes to get ready.
What is up, brother? It's been a while since I've been on stream with you, man.
Yeah, it has been a while. I mean, I missed it, sir. I miss talking to my brother. I mean, for those who don't know, I do talk to Shadow outside, here often. Well, a lot of times it's mostly in DMs, but we had a couple of phone calls, had some interesting stuff, weird stuff happening with my with my DMs. I'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
Let me get my let's get the intro ready and queued up. We got a lot of topics to talk about tonight. A lot. I don't know if you saw the thumbnail.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit to talk about.
Yeah, and so I was like, I gotta have Shadow on for this one because, especially with the whole Bitcoin stuff. I wonder if Jack saw my invite. I wanted Jack. I put it out there for Jack to be able to come on also because I know both of you are extremely knowledgeable about that subject. And then also with this Russia-Ukraine stuff, it has a lot to do with oil.
Yes, sir, it fucking does.
And nobody is talking about that.
No, sir, they are fucking not.
And so I wanted to bring you on because you can always back me up on that and be able to show people, hey, wait a minute, what he's talking about, there is some smoke there. So
there's some smoke everywhere over here, bud.
You always keep the smoke going. Always got the smoke going, right?
I am the great and powerful Oz.
All right. Let's see. I guess I'll go on ahead and get the intro going and give Chris a little bit of time to get in here.
Word.
All right. Let's go with full screen.
We're here because you have a question that you need an answer to. Hello, and thank you for joining me.
This is the political matrix.
Bookmarks, because these words did not come from us.
Mostly kidding. Mostly.
Ham and the garlic aioli.
And then they're going to change the narrative to Black Lives Matter to all Black Lives Matter, and then they're going to talk about LGBT.
So I felt like I wanted to put a couple of clips together.
Seltzer all day long. I love that shit.
Doesn't matter where we are. We obviously came up in there.
And you know how he treats them. He don't treat them nice at all. He real rough with them, and you the good man.
Budget, so much more are forming this weird cabal.
Yeah, it's not. None of them are.
Do the Chinese own part of that?
So he picked Masvidal. So I have Kobe tonight. Whether it's Biden, whether it's Obama, just sitting up there.
There are people in the Green Party that can organize. No, they can organize. They usually just get blackballed by their own party too.
Taking orders from the private industry here.
Like I say, people come on here, they can say stuff they don't normally say on their own shows, which is fine.
Hello, 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 everybody. This is the Political Matrix. I am your host, Marcus, Young Morpheus Cage, also known sometimes as Marcus Rage, here with two friends and colleagues. Got my brother Cy Lawson here, and of course, you guys know that bald, handsome young man down there with a luxurious beard, puffing smoke like the great and powerful Oz, Mr. ShadowBanned Refugee. How we doing tonight?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Thanks for having me on as usual, brother.
Shadow, what's going on, man? Good
What's
to
up,
see
Chris? Dog, you got a sick fucking tan. You got all dark as fuck on the beach today, huh?
How you get darker than me, Chris? What the hell is going on here?
you. I think I got there. I got there today, maybe around 1 o'clock or so. So yeah, from 1 to probably 8, I was at the beach. Beautiful day, like 90 degrees.
Yeah, fucking oceans scare the shit out of me, man. Like,
Nah, man, I love that shit.
mm,
Yo, War Deer, I see the comments about.
I had to put that up there. I had to put that up there. Let me run back up to the top. Say, yeah, since we only had like 45 minutes with Tara, I didn't get to the comments normally how I do. I try to put a couple up on screen, but you know, trying to make sure I'm focusing also. But you know, of course, ShadowBanned, who's right here. We got Uncle Warren. Words of Will. Will, oh, that's right. Remind us in a little bit to bring up that story because I know Chris is want to comment on it. I might plead the fifth on it, but Chris might want to. Mariana, we got Alex. Hey, got SD, Tina, of course. Thank you for letting Polly come out to play. Got Hamza Mir in the house. Jack will probably be hopping on here soon. I just sent you the link, brother. Hello, Mona. So glad to have you here. No more fossil fuel infrastructure. Nice to see you in here. Haven't seen you before, but welcome. There we go. Tapir Sour Sweet. Who else is here? Kelly, of course. Thank you. Oh, and I got a hold of that person that we've been talking about. Once we get it situated, I will break the news to everybody, but we'll wait till we get it ironed out. For those that don't know, I'm working on getting a very special guest. Once I get that mystery guest in and we work out the details, I will announce it. But just know it's a big guest that I'm trying to get to come to our nice little humble platform. DJ Elf is here. Hopefully he's on good behavior. Hello, Frankie Lee. Glad you're here. I know Signs will be probably hopping in here sometime soon, and so glad to see it. It says, "Oh wow, y'all look like y'all having fun." We always have fun. Do you not know how this works, Ed? This is what we do over here. We don't do the drama like everybody else. Jack is in the building. What's up, Jack?
That was a great interview, man, earlier. It was really good to see Tara.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I've been wanting to do an interview with her for a while, but I was trying to figure out how to, and I was finally, you know, lately, like I told Chris, I said, I'm going to do it like how I used to do back in the day when I was running around chasing women, you know, just got to shoot your shot, right? Just say, hey, would you like to come on the show and see what happens? You can only hear yes or no for the most part, right?
You see Chris cracking up. It's like
because Chris knows I'm always gonna say some wild shit.
That's why I'm laughing. Look,
I say it so calm and like I'm not saying something crazy, but we all know I am.
You see, that's Marcus.
It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous, Bobby Yeager. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, see, Marcus is shooting a shot. I won't say anything. I'll just stay quiet. Fuck that. I ain't saying anything.
Hey, I always like to punch above the belt and below the belt and just punches everywhere. Throw punches in bunches.
All y'all with the punches, bro. I'm the type of fighter that's like everyone's throwing punches, then I'm throwing fucking elbows. I'm getting so goddamn close you can't fucking throw a punch, eh? But
Jimmy, what's up, brother? How we doing? We need to get you on here one of these times. You gotta make sure
Jimmy.
we get the PG version of Jimmy. Don't get us in too much trouble until I get that Odyssey thing worked out. Odyssey, I am working on it. Believe it or not, I don't always talk about it, but I am actually working on it. Tina says shadow boxing. Yes, shadow boxing with Ghost.
Yeah, Shadow, don't be afraid of the water, man. Come on in, man. It's scary.
The only time I've ever seen the ocean was in fucking Corpus, right? And so it was like all green and yellow, and
oh no,
I ain't never seen like the blue ocean, right? But I'm definitely fucking terrified of it.
Well, I
there's
know
fucking sharks and there's fucking creatures from the deep that have been there for thousands of fucking years and millions
when
of
I was
years.
in Jacksonville, you better be worried about that ocean right there, because you know how many, believe it or not, you know how many shark bites happen right in that area, because you have baby sharks who are sitting there right near the coastlines, and they bite anything that's moving.
Yes, Tina, learn to swim.
But yes, Atlantic Ocean is full of dead monsters and broken dreams. So is the Missouri River, but that's a whole nother matter.
Exactly, Warren. It really is.
Yo, people go missing up over here on the res all the time, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a whole nother battle. And you wonder why them corn stalks grow so tall. Mm-hmm.
But, I was just gonna say, you're out in the middle of nowhere, someone goes missing. That's like a whole other situation.
Mm-hmm. So tonight we got a lot of stories within one big story: Ukraine, Russia. So glad to have Jack and Shadow on here, because I know a little bit about some of this, tech stuff, but I need my guys who they're the experts on this stuff. I consider you guys experts. So I need you guys to really be able to go in and explain this stuff out, break it down to the ABC level. Also, I put in there, I don't know if most people know this or not, we're going to talk a little bit about Yemen, because Yemen doesn't get a lot of conversation. We're going to talk about the petrodollar. We are going to talk about some gas and oil pipelines. We are going to talk about a lot of issues. In fact, let me double check and look at all that I had on there, because sometimes I forget all that I have in this. Oh yeah, that's right. I know some of you guys out there, because I've checked my analytics, are fans of Richard Medhurst also. Believe it or not, I do watch a lot of Richard Medhurst. And there's one thing that he put out there in particular that I wanted to bring this clip up and show a little bit of it, because he does so many streams, and he does a lot of long streams. It's hard sometimes to break down all the quality information he's saying into little short bites to be able to put out. But I found a couple that I wanted to share with you guys about a lot of this propaganda and stuff. And then there was one other story that and I wanted to cover some of that interview that I saw. Excellent interview by Craig Pasta Jardula. A lot of love out to the Convo Couch, and congratulations on their recent move. Fiorella joined us last week. Pasta joined us the week before. So just want to send out a lot of love to them and thank them for joining us. That said, let's go on ahead and get, let's go on. I want to hear Chris's take on this, because Words of Will brought up something. And I said, you know what? Let's just go on ahead and find it real quick. Do you know what story I'm talking about?
Of course, the Pennsylvania swimmer.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she won. Or he won in the war. He finished first place in something. I don't know what the actual what the competition was, but all I know is I saw the picture. He was number one, and clearly it's causing controversy in Pennsylvania and throughout college sports. But they're trying their best to limit the controversy, right? They're trying their best to make it just seem like the only people who have a problem with it are racist homophobes. with that being said, if we're going to call this man a woman, shouldn't we call that chick, what was her name? Rachel Dolezal? Shouldn't we call her black because she identified as black?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this picture up real quick while you're talking about this, and share it because I let Chris talk about the sticky stuff. I hate to talk about these topics.
National champion of 500-yard freestyle. It was a women's swimming event, and look at this.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, let me pull that up a little bit so you guys can see the disparity. And no, we don't want that. But yeah, this pictures speak 1,000 words sometimes. So your thoughts, gentlemen, on this?
If I recall, didn't their teammates actually speak out as well, and the media went after them? Or am I thinking of a different swimmer? Yeah, it may have been that. So for people that don't know, their teammates actually speak out saying that this isn't fair. Yeah, because the thing I remember is that they said it wasn't fair, and I was just thinking it through, and I was just like, just from a standpoint of like, this is where it gets really weird with all the culture war shit, because just even looking at the photo, it's like, personally, the way I feel, you're entitled to whatever identity you want to associate with or whatever you want to be. Be who you want to be. That's fine. But when that stuff starts affecting other people, and especially in sports and things with like competitive sides to it, that's where I think some lines probably should be drawn. I honestly don't know. It's one of those weird things that, I just don't know on.
I'm on team. I'll call you a fucking hippopotamus if you want me to. Like, I don't give a fuck. But yeah, that's.
Well, Jimmy says he's a coconut, so.
Whether people would like to admit it or not, males and females are genetically different. Males have bigger bones, bigger muscular structure. We are the larger of the two sexes. We're like, do we have a fucking WNBA or not? And why do we have a fucking WNBA?
Do we have men's and women's boxing?
Do we have, like, it's not competitive. It's just not. And like, fucking Rogan suffered this shit forever because he was like, because people were fucking looking at him like, you're such a fucking transphobe when you were watching a fucking man beat the flying fuck out of a woman, fracturing their fucking skull. Like, come on, dude. Don't be fucking stupid. Like, this fucking postmodernism is just. No, it's like you can identify as a fucking pedophile. That doesn't mean that you're allowed to be around my fucking child. Like, go fuck yourself. Like, you're out of your fucking head.
Yeah, I guess then, like Chris said, Rachel Dolezal, we just have to start calling her black then, and what's his name?
I identify as black now too. Can you tell?
Talcum X. We're just gonna start calling him black.
You have to identify. You have to fucking address me as a African American of slavery descent.
Yeah, we got to,
because I said
Shadow's ADOS. He's ADOS because he's.
I identify as Heinz 57. So.
I am going to be a kangaroo from now on. You guys are going to have to address me as a kangaroo. And if I decide to speed in a car, then you guys just have to be impressed because a kangaroo is driving a car. I do not get a ticket anymore because kangaroos do not get tickets for speeding. You don't have to be like, well,
officer, clearly I'm a kangaroo.
The kangaroo in the car. We shouldn't let the kangaroo in the car. It's our fault now.
I mean, the nasty part of the story is not so much that the guy wants to be a girl and wants to participate in the girls' team, right? I mean, That's an issue in itself. For me, the bigger problem is the way that the media is covering it and the way that they treat anybody who looks at him and says that this is a dude, and they would try to chastise you for not calling him a female. This is problematic on so many levels, and we just, each time a story like this pops up, it just gets worse and worse and worse, coming from the media telling you what you need to, how you need to speak to these people, how you need to address them, etc., etc. It really just doesn't make any sense. So we're supposed to sit here, you put your girls in school, you have them compete, they do all this shit, and then there's a guy who clearly is competing against them, they lose. I mean, goddamn. If you were in third place, you would at least gotten a medal. You add this person there, now your bronze is non-existent. So it's screwing women over, much less men. But it's not right for the girls. Everyone
Especially
has
if you
life.
agree with those teammates said.
Did I see
Like,
Yona
they
in
felt
there?
free to speak out, Chris. It
What's
was
up,
it was
Yona?
not. Yona,
Correct.
what's up, brother?
Yona on the phone. Oh, si orale!
The thing about it is
this is what I would like to do. What Kelly says. This is what I think should be a fair compromise. I mean,
yeah, I'm totally down for that.
Yeah.
If you want to fucking compete against someone that you're fucking equally matched up with biologically,
Just like they do weight classes.
Like, I just, yeah,
I
don't understand. I don't have the fucking mental capacity to fucking understand this, dude. Like,
yeah,
I don't.
Me neither. And
Will brought it up, so I just wanted to bring it up, and see what your thoughts were on it. I mean, I knew I know for the most part how most of us think on this, and I just wanted to bring it up and get it out there. I do try to listen to our friends out there in the chat when they bring up something. So.
Fucking Sky the other day, maybe it was today, she posted something on the tweet machine saying she identifies as a child now, so now she can go and compete in fucking children's leagues.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and
I think that comes down with the identity thing.
Can I be a 12-year-old boxer now?
Yeah. Can I go and fucking?
I identify as Mike Tyson
with some fucking with the peewees. I identify as a 6-year-old child, so I'm gonna go.
Wait
and
a minute.
I'm gonna go and play fucking linebacker for
Jack
a fucking
might
Yaffle
be
team.
onto something here. Jack said if he identifies as Mike Tyson, he could just be Mike Tyson. Well, then in that logic, can I identify as Jeff Bezos and just walk away with his money?
What on me? We're all Jeff Bezos.
Dude, you would walk up and they would be like, "No, you're not that evil. We can tell."
I'm Jeff Bezos now, so you guys just have to open his account and give me the money.
They call me Jeffy BB. That's what my real friends call me.
Yes,
identify
Mike
as
was
Jeffy
a
BB.
beast in the ring. But
I know. And Marcus, the last thing I just wanted to say on that topic is, again, whatever you choose to identify as, that's cool for you and to the people in your circle and the people who matter most to you. You're barking up the wrong tree trying to force people, especially somebody such as myself, to go against what I know to be true just to make you feel good. If you feel like you don't want to hear the comments, just think about your life decisions. Your decision is what's going to bring about the comments. That's just something you're going to have to deal with. I'm not advocating for violence, but you're going to have to deal with the stares, the looks, etc., etc. That's part of it. Stand tall in your shit, right?
But Chris, haven't you heard that words are violent?
Yeah, I know it is.
I mean, you guys, AOC almost got killed by herself.
Well, and something that has kind of got to be like, this is all like part of a larger fucking agenda to make subjective reality objective reality.
Correct, Shadow.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
That's what my main issue is.
Yeah, like one of the issues that I've had over the past few years is this introduction of Latinx, right? You're a fucking white person that doesn't fucking speak Spanish, and you think you have the right to rewrite Spanish in your own image because you're offended by the gender in the language, O and A.
Mm-hmm.
You can go fuck yourself.
There's three genders in German.
It's just
masculine.
What we need, and then also the rewriting of the English language, right? The pronoun wars, they, them.
Yeah.
No,
the
that's
white
not
saviors need to all stop trying to save people. That's what it is. White saviors need to go sit.
If you take it to its logical conclusion, you change the entire. I mean, so what do you say, right? Do you no longer say la mesa? Do you say
la mesix?
Correct. La mesa.
Or no, mexix.
Yeah. Where does this end?
And as someone who is in a fucking majority Spanish-speaking state, you go and talk to fucking Abuelita over there in the fucking taqueria, right? And you tell her, excuse me, that's not a taco, that's a taquix. She's going to tell you to get the fuck out of her store. Like, no, just stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Like, I don't... These fucking children need a good spanking.
No, it's true. If you talk to most people who are not involved with Democratic Party politics, think this shit is a joke. It's really only people who are aligned with Democratic Party politics and their side of the culture war.
Oh, but you're forgetting the fucking campus nerds that are like, oh yeah, we're fucking communists and something or other, so we're part of this fucking particular party that no one's ever heard of, but we're really going to seize the means of production because we really care about workers. But first, we're gonna have fucking we're gonna have to talk about the fucking gender studies of Latinx women. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, I'm done with the shit. I'm done with this shit. Had it. Fucking had it.
Oh yeah, if you want to bring that up, yeah, sure, Jack. And then just let me know and I'll add it or do you need me to add it onto the screen?
Oh,
still here, Jack? They've got Jack. No.
No, I'm just seeing if I can find it real quick. I'm not sure if anyone in the audience is familiar, a content creator that I would recommend. I don't agree with him on everything, but Charlie Robinson does some really great work, and he was formerly in marketing, and he explains just from a marketing standpoint, the woke stuff is never going to fly with the majority of the country because you're forcing a reality on people that's not real.
Yeah, I mean, and that's anytime you try to force anything, and it goes back to the same thing with the mandates. When you try to force stuff on people you probably could get to agree with it are going to start to resist you. Just because that's the nature of being forced. Most people don't like to be forced. I mean, think about how many people who do themselves more harm with ultimatums just because they're like, I don't like fucking ultimatums. Girl will be like, either you get home at this time every night or else I'm putting you out. Okay, put me out then. You're just not going to give me an ultimatum.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pierre, hold on real quick, guys. To Pierre, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in and all that. I just wanted to address this real quick. I don't want to stay on it too long. So there should not be things that women do, like within whatever setting it is, and vice versa. There aren't things that men should be doing. I mean, let's break it down to even the basics. Do you want to carry bags of groceries upstairs, or should the dude do it? I mean, again, that's a minor point, but it's okay for women to do things that women do. It's okay for men to do things that men do. I don't see that as an issue. I just want to say that. That was it.
Well,
We shouldn't get
then
too deep in the weeds on that.
coming from like the pagan background, right? There's masculine and there's feminine, right? There's the light and there's the dark. There's God and goddess, and there's reasons for that. And so to completely fucking nix that and rewrite all things in your own image, that's a form of cultural control and conversion that it's unacceptable. Like, if women want to wear pants, I don't fucking care. Women are working next to me in my trade, which is a predominantly male field, and I don't care. Like, you do you. And some of the fucking women that I've worked with in my trade blow me out of the fucking water on skill. They do. Like, I'm intimidated. So I don't care about the fucking those type of stereotypes. Like, I'm all about fucking that type of equality. But rewriting languages, fucking inserting yourself into a field of a competitive nature that you have an unfair advantage given that you were born a male and you had testosterone pumping through your body through however many fucking years and all that shit, and then sex changes on fucking children. Like, no, fucking stop it. Like, there is a line to be drawn there. So,
yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I guess I figured we'll just talk about it for a little bit. I mean, I'm not trying to offend anybody out there. Whoever wants to be addressed by whatever they want to be addressed by. I mean, hey, if that's what you want to do, then whatever. I mean, I saw this one thing. I still don't know if this was comedy or not. I don't know if this guy was just playing with us, but this was clearly a black man who was saying he now identifies as Asian. He is an Asian man from now on. And so you have to recognize him as an Asian man. And that's kind of where we get when we start trying to say, oh, well, there's no lines on, nothing means nothing. Nothing matters. So let's just call whatever I want to be called. I can be born as, my name could be Jim, and I decide, you know what? No, it's not. My name is going to be Jeffrey now, and you're just going to accept it. And so if you go and legally do that, that's one thing, but you just can't just say it, and it's fact and reality for everybody. So I guess we'll go ahead and move on to our more serious topics to get into, because I figure, let's have a little. To me, it's silliness. I do not like to spend a lot of time focusing on culture war issues, and I feel like a lot of that stuff is distraction, especially if you factor in there's a small amount of people who are actually falling into these categories. And if you go to a place and now they don't want to hire you because of these issues, or somebody wants to attack you physically or decide, oh, you can't come into my business, now we're getting into another category. So we support people to be whoever they want to be, and for them not to be discriminated. But if you have testosterone coursing through your body and you decide, I'm just going to take some hormones for 6 months, and all of a sudden now just no. That's not how this works.
And your muscle mass is already developed by then too, which I think is a critical factor, is that testosterone pumping through your blood is what's making up a lot of that bulk at an earlier age when you go through puberty. And the whole talk of puberty blockers that just seems insane to me.
Well, I look at it like this. So can 3-year-olds get tattoos?
Wow. I didn't even think of it like that.
If we tell a kid that they can't get a tattoo before, in some states they allow 16 with a parental consent. Some states you got to be 18. We don't allow a 5 or 6-year-old to get a tattoo, but we're saying yes, we should go on life-altering drugs. And that's all I'm saying. Think about, have some consistency in all these things that we're talking about here.
I mean, that's like when
yeah.
Go ahead, Jack. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the thing that I was just thinking about is like friends I've seen who actually have transitioned have even told me that they're horrified of people even thinking about doing that before they've actually gotten to an older age, so to speak, because they were trying to deal with their identity issues their entire life. And if they had done what some kids are able to do now, they've know people that have regretted it. It's not a majority or anything, but it's just the standpoint that that's an altering decision for the rest of your life. And I've heard different perspectives on it. So I agree 100%. It's just like with the thing you're saying with the tattoos. Like we don't allow, it's because where's the consent in that? How can a 12-year-old consent to shit?
Mm-hmm.
Well, also, like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a feminine man, and there's nothing wrong with being a masculine woman. Like, I don't fucking have a problem with any of that. And nobody should, right? That's fine. But yo, you haven't even had a fucking chance to try out that body yet. Are you sure you have the fucking? Are you sure you're gonna be going fucking changing it permanently? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It makes me fucking sad because I have friends who are parents of fucking children that now, after being a girly girl for all of their life, decide they're a boy. And like, it's fucking with them. It's fucking with them as parents really bad. Right? Because like, I don't know.
And see, that's the thing. I played with like I didn't like how like when you're a kid it's like boys plays with Legos. I guess during like our generations it would have been like what easy bake ovens or some shit like that. I fucked with those. Like I didn't really care like what toys I played with, but at the same time I wasn't being told that the toys I played with were my identity, which I think is what's going on now. Like a lot of like it's just it's interesting to see. Because the weaponization of identity is almost always used by any, not just empire, but any kind of structural group that wants to rule over another. Is they create these division lines. Like it's a form of gaslighting, is the way I see it. Like that picture alone is gaslighting. Like you can see a difference.
It is. It really is. And the other part is you don't see the complaints are really coming from the men who want to be women and recognized as women in fields that are, in competitive fields for women. You don't really see the women who want to become men crying that they can't get in the NFL, crying that they can't be in the NBA, etc., etc. It's really only the men who are going into women's spaces and dominating there, and then they're crying over the fact that people are recognizing them for what they are and not what they want. It's mind-numbing, really, is what it is.
Is Shadow getting beamed up right now? What's going on?
Yeah,
Shadow, come down for you. Is ET phoning home?
I finally went to a chiropractor. My lower back's fine now. It's just now I have a problem with my neck.
Oh man.
Damn, Mad Marxist, tell us how you really feel.
I know.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if you guys see that comment or not. Speaking of that, let's hop on to this this interview. It's very interesting. And I figure I'll start off with the interview first. Or you know what? Actually, I'm not going to start with the interview first. I lied. Sorry about that. Let's go into a clip that I saw floating around on Twitter.
And then Mad Marxist, we will get to the Banderite fascist.
Oh, we'll definitely get into that.
Oh, we'll get to it.
Let's see. Let's put that down. And let's see. Share. Let's get to the share screen. I saw this clip floating around. I don't know if you guys have all saw it. I have not confirmed it for a fact, but I did see this. And so I wanted to put this topic out there and talk about this just a little bit. I do believe there is a lot of truth to this. Just my own opinion. But let's see if you guys have seen this or not. It says it's a trap. They're cutting up our passports and sending us to the front. American volunteer complains of mistreatment by Ukrainian forces, those he came to fight for, and claims losses suffered by foreign volunteers are being underestimated by Ukrainian authorities. So let's click on
A
that.
whole nother mess.
Hold on, let's bring it back to the beginning.
So for any of you who are wondering what is going on, all right, we were part of the Georgia National Legion, the 102nd Ukrainian Territorial Defense. Okay. Our base got fucked up. The base right next to us got fucked up. Americans, British, tons of British dead. All right. They're not saying nothing. They're counting our dead as their dead. They're trying to send us to Kiev with no fucking weapons, no kit, no fucking plates. The people who are lucky enough to get weapons are only getting magazines with like 10 fucking rounds, okay? When they wanted to send us to Kiev, we said no. Our whole group, a bunch of Americans, Canadians, British. So they told us we had to get the fuck out or they were going to shoot us in the back, all right? So me, this British guy, and another American, we fucking hid in the back of an ambulance to get out. We got to the border, and it was a whole nother mess. When you get to the border, anyone who has kit, anyone who has any military shit, they're fucking pulling you out of the line and they're sending you back to the front. We got dropped off about 5 clicks from the fucking from the border, and we walked. And we get to the border, and this humanitarian group with a bunch of ex-SF veterans from England pull us to signs that you need to get, like, pulled us out and fucking, like, hit us. And they were like, you need to dump all your kit. They're pulling people out, cutting up passports, sending them back. So we dumped our shit. We got, like, in all of our fucking, we got in, like, Red Cross vests, and they had, like, fucking humanitarian passes to get us through the Ukrainian border. People need to stop coming here. It's a trap, and they're not letting you fucking leave. The best way to leave is like in a Vic or a car or something. People who get on by vehicle have a better chance of hiding their fucking kit in the back, doing whatever the fuck they can, but do not try to leave Ukraine on foot if you're a volunteer. It's a mess, and it's a trap. And I have multiple people who can confirm this story for me. I'm getting.
All right. So, what are your thoughts on that, gentlemen?
No one, I guess, informed him that when you go to a country illegally as a fighting force, that you do not have any coverage under the Geneva Convention. You are not. What's the official term? A non-state combatant or some shit? Like there's
You're basically
term
a
for
terrorist.
the mercenaries. Yeah, you're basically a mercenary terrorist that's going to a different country, and you expect that things are going to go well. Again, the propaganda, I guess, is that good.
Okay, so a couple of things. Any active war zone situation, this is exactly what fucking happens. If you are of age to fight, you're not allowed to leave. This isn't something fucking new. And a lot of times, of age to fight is double digits. 10 years old. Can you fucking pull a trigger, basically?
Yep.
Are you a bullet cushion? This happens in every fucking active war zone. So if that's not what you signed up for, sorry, bud. The fuck were you thinking? But also there's the international geopolitical side of this, which is the more American and British and French dead that they can fucking rack up and then cry to the UN and NATO and say, your citizens are being killed. What are you going to do about it? That is how NATO gets involved.
I was just going to say that's a great point because even if they did it themselves, because we're talking about fucking Banderite fascists and fucking all these different brigades that are known to kill civilians without even like blinking an eye. So, and like when he was saying don't run, I was just thinking in my head, I was like, don't run because what they've already said they're going to shoot you in the back.
Well, and this is just history rhyming again because the Soviet forces did it in World War II. If you fled the battlefield, you knew you were going to die, they'd fucking shoot you. And then the Germans did it as well. The Wehrmacht did it, but especially the SS did it. That even
especially during the taking of Berlin, if you remember,
that you weren't going to win. Like,
yeah, they were arming kids with I forget the name of I almost remembered it. It's a rocket launcher, but if you've seen the footage, Thank you. That one. They're essentially anti-tank weapons that they had these kids running around Berlin while the city's falling. And I think if you watch Der Untergang, it's the downfall. It covers like the last days, like showing essentially what was going on there. It's the similar situation. It just hyper, what we're seeing now.
Yeah, it's fucking disgusting. And I mean, there's been foreign brigades in every fucking war everywhere. Sometimes they're mercs, sometimes they're ideologically driven, right? There are anarchists that are fucking going to Ukraine that are.
There are Iraqis also.
Huh?
There have been Iraqis, there have been Syrians, there have been all kind of people who are.
Yeah, well, there's foreign.
There's Al Qaeda. There's Al Qaeda in there also,
which are kind of like a different breed. They're just going to fucking fight invading armies because they're anarchists, right? And that's something that Spears. That's just something that ever since anarchism has been a thing, anarchists will fly to the hot zone, and they will pick up arms with their other ideological counterparts and fight whoever, right? Like,
yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing is like I wouldn't even by definition I wouldn't consider that person like it's not to say who's what or what, but when you're talking about like I know exactly the mindset you're talking about. So these people that think all states are worthy of doing whatever the ends justify the means on eliminating all states. So they see this violence as good and it's gross.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some people that are going like because of their ideology on both sides of the thing, right? And that's how you know this war is about something entirely different. This war is the beginning of something. Right, like the Spanish Civil War in 36. That there were people from all over the world that were going to pick a side and fight against. Right, there was the fascists from Western Europe and Eastern Europe that were traveling to Spain to fight on the side of Franco, and then there were anarchists and communists from all over the fucking world that traveled to fucking Spain to fight the fascist. And you see the exact same thing happening over. Right? What happened 3 years later? This is the start of something.
Oh, it's definitely the start of something. I mean, just like in the interview we just had with Tara Reid, she was asking like, okay, so what do you think is going to happen with this? And I strongly believe that this is definitely leading to something. What's going to happen is we're going to start seeing this situation wind down, and then some incident, I don't know what it's going to be, but something's going to happen.
Well, here's what the real issue is. This is Ukraine. Rasputitsia, it's almost here. And for the people that aren't total fucking nerds like me, Rasputitsia is mud season. It happens in spring and it happens in fall. It's why the fucking Nazi war machine was stopped, because they couldn't get their tanks through the mud.
Yep.
Coincidentally, when the Soviets came to reclaim their territory, that's what stopped the Soviets. So Rasputitsia, when it hits, is going to fucking change the field, the theater of war. Which is why I think the Russian Federation chose the end of February. Gives you about 6 weeks of fighting time before shit gets
before it sets in, yeah.
And also keep in mind they use these war zones to test out new technologies all the time.
Yes. Well, and the Syrian theater is pretty much done, so they have to find a new fucking theater. But the Russian Federation relies heavily on tanks. And once Rasputitsa is here, those tanks aren't going to be able to get anywhere anymore. You're going to see more of an air war. You're going to see more bombs dropping. Because
that's the call for the no-fly zone too.
Yep. Oh wait! Hold there. I don't want you to get too ahead yet.
Yeah.
So hold that. Put a bun in that. Hold that thought. I want to bring this video up, and we take a peek at that interview. I know you saw it, Shadow. Do you know which part I'm bringing up?
Yeah.
You know which part I'm bringing up. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was
This
listening
interview,
to it.
I'll Jack, did you see the interview that and Chris, did you guys see the Convo Couch interview that Pasta did with Gonzalo Lira?
I had not seen it yet.
I didn't.
Good. So this will be fresh for you two. Good. Okay.
Oh, awesome.
Sweet. This is going to be a little bit long. And it just let me know in which areas you guys want me to stop it so you can kind of weigh in. And remember, this is about 20 minutes, so it's probably going to be a lot of points you're going to want to weigh in. Or so if you just want to save the comment until after it's over with, that's fine also. But if it's something you absolutely have to, have me stop it on, let me know and I'll stop it. But let's switch it there. And I started at the 117 mark because if I had to, a lot of us know what's led up to this and know a lot of things that are going on, but some of Gonzalo's comments were what I really want to go into. And yes, I appreciate Shadow's sober assessment also, but I just wanted to save it because I want to pair that with what you guys see in this, what you guys hear in this interview, so you can kind of put all these things together. So let me switch over. Yeah. And here we go.
They're the biggest guy on the block, right? But the Russians are just as big. And the other key issue, and something that the Americans don't understand. See, for the Russians, this is existential. They will go to the last man on this one. They will go as far as necessary to win. They cannot afford to lose. So when you're dealing with somebody, with an army that will do whatever it takes to win, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to go all the way? Because these guys will. And they will go all the way. And I'm not talking about nuclear. I'm talking about the will to win a war here. They will go to the last man to win this war. And so I just have to insist to people, and the only reason I'm on your show is to convince people, don't encourage this craziness. Don't encourage this insanity, because a wider war in Ukraine, number one, will destroy Ukraine pointlessly, okay? Number two, the Russians are going to win. And number three, the Washington leadership is so stupid that if they lose in a way that's too humiliating for them, they might decide, maybe it would be good to use a tactical nuclear weapon, just a little bit, just the tip, just to see what it feels like, And once you start using nuclear weapons, which I firmly believe the Americans would start using first.
I wanted to pause that there because that's something that that we just talked about. Me and Chris just talked about with Tara Reid. This is something which is being put out there. Oh, we can just use a small tactical nuke.
That name is such a misnomer, isn't it, Marcus? Because yeah, I understand where they're saying, yeah, it's tactical because it's not like 100,
it's not 100 kiloton,
Yeah, it's not 100 kiloton. It's just going to demolish an entire city. It's not going to demolish many cities. But that's the thing, is the second nukes start going off, that's when it's all gone.
Well,
so tactical nuke or not. Ugh.
Yeah. And when I was working on Sandia National Labs, I was working with this guy that was he was in the Marine Corps in Osaka. And he was part of the regiment that defends the nuclear stockpiles in Osaka. And I made a joke about tactical nukes or some shit. And he got very serious and very angry with me. He said, there's no such fucking thing as a tactical nuke.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is no such fucking thing as a tactical nuke.
Nope.
People don't seem to understand that this is a very
trying to lie you into a nuclear war. This is what people are trying to get you comfortable with.
Yes. And the other stupid psyops a small little nuclear winter could be good for global warming. I mean,
they're trying to get
permission. Fuck. Something else that I saw somewhere the other day. I think it was coming out of fucking Russian Ministry of Defense or whatever the fuck. But Putin said on fucking live television, weapon shipments are legitimate targets. That is setting the table for Lusitania 2.0.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, man. Oh, you brought up Lusitania.
Oh, for the other fucking people that aren't history nerds, Lusitania was supposed to be a civilian ship carrying civilian and civilian supplies. It was carrying weapons to Europe from the United States.
And for the bonus point, Shadow, which famous person died on there?
Wasn't it Rothschild? Or no?
Nope, but you're close.
That was a Rockefeller.
Not Rockefeller.
One of the other fuckers.
Mm-hmm. Astor.
Yeah.
One of the Astors died on there.
So,
in that same Astor, you know what his objection was at the time? The Federal Reserve.
Isn't it fucking strange?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, interesting that the establishment of a central bank, we then go to 2 world wars.
Well, just like the other one who died was Vanderbilt, who died on the Titanic, who was in opposition also to the Federal Reserve. Just thought that was an interesting take.
Yeah.
Let's hop back into the video.
Oh, and just real quick, for anyone, if you haven't seen it, TruthStream Media has got a great series right now on the Federal Reserve, central banking. I highly recommend. It's TruthStream Media, and it's on YouTube. It's great.
Exactly. One little nuke could wipe out NYC or LA. Shaking my head. Yeah, these people do not realize how dangerous what they're talking about is.
Well, before we go into this, I need to make this very fucking clear to the American audience. We don't know what war is. We see fucking war films that have been carefully tailored to look fucking. Marcus does. But we see war films that show the glory and the courage and the honor and the bravery and the blah 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 blah. We don't fucking know what war is. Eastern Europe knows what fucking war is. So we're clamoring for this fucking shit, and the people in other NATO countries, they're like, no. Poland is like, fuck you, do not fucking start this hot war. The fucking the Balkans are freaking the fuck out. Like Germany is like,
Americans have never had this.
Going on? We need our military back, and the military.
They haven't had this on
return
American
of the German military. You fucking insane.
This hasn't happened on American streets. That's why.
We've never fucking seen a fucking bomb drop in the middle of on City Hall. We've never seen fucking hospitals fucking wiped out. We've never seen fucking real war on this fucking soil. Not
just
not
like what's going
mechanized.
on in Donetsk and just like you're seeing like Banderite like pieces of shit shelling the center of towns, and our media will not cover it because they'll blame it on the Russian side.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's.
First casualty of war is always the truth.
So true. Such a
so true
statement. Well, let's see. Let's hop back in. It says Astor sinking the land Titanic in Futurama. Well, a lot of these shows, I don't know why they do it, but they like to put the truth of events in very fictional things, just to mock it. So they make everybody else who tells the truth about it look like a conspiracy theory nut.
Out of like a spoil sport kind of like, you know, they beat us, so we're going to show them kind of attitude because they're that immature and emotional and pathetic. I'm sorry, it's the truth. I think that the Americans would start using nuclear weapons, and once you start down that path, you know, anything is possible. I mean, literally anything is possible. And I think that the American leadership is so stupid. I mean, come on, look at Kamala Harris. She is a moron. That woman does not have enough IQ points to walk and chew gum at the same time. And she might potentially be the president of the United States ordering God knows what. And so I'm terrified of the Americans. I mean, the Americans are what terrify me because they're so stupid and emotional. And they don't realize the power that they are wielding and how easily a conflict like this can, you know, go way beyond their control.
Can escalate.
You know?
And you know, I think Putin once he said, you know, he quoted Albert Einstein saying World War III will be fought with nuclear weapons. World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. But I gotta be honest with you, Gonzalo. I don't think that they are attempting to win this war. I've always said this before. The Americans, because they've always the attitude of the Americans, and just hear me on this and give me your opinions, is that they don't care who wins the war. They don't care who loses the war. All they care is that they have the war, and that money is spent. And those oligarchs or those people or the people within the military-industrial complex, hey, they still got paid, whether that weaponry was used or not. A lot of individuals made a lot of money when we sent over $1 billion in weapons. So that's my thought process there, is the fact that it's just a money scam no matter what.
I think so too. I think you're right. I think that the Americans, look, bottom line, and you can hear by my accent, I spent a lot of time in the United States. I went to an Ivy League university. You know, I got all the trimmings, and I understand the American elites very well. The United States is corrupt and pathetic. They are a dying nation. And I'm sorry, and I don't mean this in a nasty personal way. I'm not trying to belittle you personally or anybody of your audience, but it's the truth. The United States is a decadent, degenerate, dying nation, and it is lashing out. It is about to see the economic collapse that is, you know, it's already there. It's already happening. But, you know, the United States is in denial.
Yeah.
The United States is falling apart. I grew up in California in the 70s when it was truly the Golden State. And it really was a magical time. And it was beautiful. And everything worked. And there was a sense of self-confidence and a sense that, you know, the future was going to be better and brighter. There's no such sense today in the United States. Everybody feels it. In the United States right now, there's a sense of collapse. And because the United States is collapsing, the economy is collapsing. If you add on federal government debt, state debt, municipal debt, and agency debt, the United States has over 200% indebtedness versus GDP. Any other country in the world, you'd say that that country is bankrupt. The United States is bankrupt. And the only thing holding it up right now is the petrodollar, the fact that the world trades oil in the dollar. And that's why the dollar has not hyperinflated to the moon. But that's about to end now because of these stupid sanctions that were pushed by this incompetent administration. And by the way, the Federal Reserve, and I know this for a fact because I know a couple of people at the Federal Reserve, they begged the administration not to mess with these economic sanctions that would be so incredibly destructive, not to the Russians, but to the American economy, okay? But the Biden administration, they wanted to show that they were tough, and so they implemented these sanctions, and they caused a little short-term pain to the Russians. But even after barely a week of these sanctions, the ruble is bouncing back. But the United States, well, it lost all credibility with the rest of the world. And Saudi Arabia right now is exploring how to start selling its oil in the Chinese currency.
Yeah.
The other countries of the world, they want to get out of dollar assets because the Americans, they confiscated the sovereign wealth fund of the Russians to the tune of about $300 billion. Basically stole their money. And so other countries are saying, shit, man, these crazy Americans might do this to us. And so they're like pulling their money. They're dumping treasury bonds. They're doing it quietly and discreetly, but they're very serious about it. And what does that do to the American dollar? Well, the American dollar is going to go down the tubes. You are probably going to have hyperinflation by the end of 2023, okay? Because if you think that the inflation right now is bad, and it's officially at 7.5%, right? And John Williams over at ShadowStats, he pegs it at double that amount. ShadowStats is a really great website. I don't have any kind of financial relationship with them. I follow them, but I don't. I mean, I'm not paid. I'm not, it's just a recommendation. ShadowStats uses the old methodology of calculating inflation, and they peg it at about 15%, okay, and rising, okay? And we all know that the inflation is really getting out of control because of not just gasoline prices, but food prices, okay? And so the United States is collapsing. And when you have a collapsing empire, a lot of times it lashes out. It lashes out because the leadership thinks that, some good war might distract from the collapse. And the thing is, the United States has nuclear weapons. And so that's the danger. That's the real danger. And I hate to say it to your audience because I understand that your audience is mostly American, but somebody has to tell you, you are a danger to the rest of the world. You, America. Because as your country is collapsing, which it is, you are becoming more and more hysterical. And your leadership is responding to your hysteria and trying to get into wars so as to distract you from the collapse, distract you from the problems that you have in your country. You should be solving your problems. You should be closing up your borders and not worrying about Ukraine's borders.
Yeah.
You should be worrying about the fact that your leadership is corrupt. Your leadership steals money in sly and underhanded ways. You should be thinking about the fact that your leadership does not care about you, but only about their own pockets and the pockets of the people who pay them. You should be worried and focused on trying to keep your country together and survive this imminent collapse that you're about to experience. That's what you should be concerned about. You should not be concerned about getting into a war in Ukraine where you have no vital interest whatsoever. The only interest that is being served is to prevent some politicians, some corrupt American politicians, from being discovered. That's the only reason the United States wants to get into this war, because a lot of politicians, they did a lot of, dirty stuff in Ukraine.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't want it to come out.
Well, that's the problem, is that Americans ignored that, right? You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, the ruling class, and I think you've made it very clear, it's not the Americans that, are the issue, it's the leadership. And, Gonzalo, I think this goes above our elected officials.
I used to think that. I used to think that, and it's a nice sentiment. But the fact of the matter is, it's a government of the people, by the people, for the people.
Oh, I don't believe that.
No, I figure I'd stop it right there, because this is where Gonzalo starts saying some stuff where I don't necessarily agree with him, but I still do want to show the rest of this, but I want to put the disclaimer. I do not agree with what some of the stuff Gonzalo's going to start saying, because what that's doing is it's not taking into consideration that the people he thinks that are the leaders are not the leaders. That's why they're stupid. That's why they're doing stupid shit, because they're not the fucking leaders. They are stupid because they've been put in place to be stupid. They've been put in place because they're not smart enough to question these things. They're just going to follow orders. That's why these leaders are stupid. And he talks about, well, I was in the elite, levels, and so I know what's going on. Chris, I kind of want to hear some of your take on some of this.
No, go ahead. Like you was still cooking.
All right. Well, this guy, he does not believe that this is if there's any orchestration going on, that, this is just the American leaders that are just doing this all on their own will. They're not doing this all on their own will. They are doing this on orders. It's just like when a lot of people put everything on and Pasto say it, and I like Pasto's going to push back a little bit on it, so I'll go back into it and hear what he has to say. But he starts pushing back on him a little bit, like, I don't really agree with you there. So here, let's finish this up, and then I'll get Jack and Shadow's thoughts on this. So I think it's a couple more minutes left. Let's see, what is it at? Maybe about 5 more minutes.
By the people. Well, then stand up and get rid of the government you got. I mean, come on.
I agree. But they got people pitted at each other. I mean, that's the issue, what's going on right now. Instead of saying, look who the issue is, it's the people upstairs. They have everybody fighting with each other. And I don't know if you know this, Gonzalo, we're election specialists over here, and we're not too fond of the framework of our elections, that they are really producing the results that the people really want. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, I'll tell you what I think personally. I think the November 2022 elections are going to be crooked as all get out. And I think that there likely won't be a 2024 election. I think that the Democrats, who are completely corrupt, I mean, the Republicans are just incompetent and paid off by big business, but the Democrats are actively evil, as far as I'm concerned. And I think that they're going to figure out a crafty way to bend the November 2022 elections, and the Republicans won't win. And everybody's like, "How is this possible? How is this possible?" And nothing will be done about it. They'll just take it. They'll just take it like prison sodomy, and they'll just take it. And then in 2024, the Biden administration or Kamala Harris or whoever is in charge, they'll figure some crafty way to suspend the election because of some emergency. Maybe they'll declare another pandemic or something like that.
Yeah,
and I'm
possibly.
You, the United States is going down the tubes, and the people are allowing it.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe Biden and his administration and the Democrats are really in charge. I look more towards the World Economic Forum people and those heads, Council of Foreign Relationships. It seems like what we're witnessing is the controlled demolition of the American empire. And eventually everything, all news and everything will move eventually, I think, to Beijing.
You're wrong. It's not controlled. I mean, if it were controlled, if they actually had a clue as to what they were doing, then I wouldn't be so frightened. I am more frightened of the United States than of the Russians here, and I'm in the middle of a war. I mean, you guys heard it, okay? I am a lot more scared of what the United States will do because it's not a controlled demolition. It's a sinking ship, and all the rats are fighting one another. That's what's going on. And so, I mean, it would be comforting to think that there's some like World Economic Forum or Illuminati or somebody who's in charge and knows more or less what they're doing. But see, I actually grew up in the elite layer of American society. They don't have a plan. And the people who are running things, they're morons. They're stupid people. I mean, they are objectively stupid in the sense that they have a lot of IQ points and a lot of credentials, but they have no judgment, and they certainly don't have any kind of morality.
Well, how do you think they got in charge?
I beg your pardon?
How do you think they got in charge?
They got in charge because the United States created a system insofar as education and accreditation is concerned, where people who had success were those people who were willing to jump through artificial hoops, not people who were actually good at stuff. And the things that the people who at any time
got to stop it there. That's where he's missing it. Yes, they're jumping through these artificial hoops, meaning these people are useful fucking idiots. If they are jumping through the hoops which somebody had set up, that's obviously showing you that they're not running things. I don't get how Gonzalo misses that connection.
It's like a grooming thing. It's like a fucked up elite thing where, like, I'll give a great example. Fraternities and sororities. Like, I don't care like what people say about them. I'm not going to come out for or against them because the point of the matter is I think that they're one of the first introductions to getting people compliant. Like, if you look at, like, I had tons of friends in different frats and like different things, and I just flat out told them, I was like, what you're doing is stupid. You've got rules that are arbitrary that someone is setting for you. Do you not see how that's going to probably be used as you're an adult?
Yeah. I mean, and I figure that's probably enough on that one. I mean, you guys get the gist of it. Gonzalo just thinks that basically a lot of these elites, they failed their way up and they've landed in these positions and they haven't run into any career mistakes. That's why they keep getting promoted. It's not that simple. It's not that they haven't ran into any mistakes. People like that run into mistakes all the time. You telling me Ted Kennedy didn't run into a mistake that got him at the top? You telling me Chappaquiddick was nothing? These people do make mistakes. It just gets covered up if you're willing to play ball. You telling me that the Cuomos don't have a lot more dirt than the nursing home scandal and him grabbing, feeling up women against their will? You telling me that Chris Cuomo got into that position only because he's a great reporter? You telling me that all it is these people just play, they just haven't made any mistakes? It's not they didn't make any mistakes. It's because they do what they're told and they are loyal. That's all is required from the top, is you do what you're told and you're loyal.
And that didn't even get into
the script. Yeah.
You're right, because that didn't even get into control files or any of that shit. Like all this other shit that could be at play. But it's interesting how he could be again, I need to look more into that interview, But
Oh yeah. Check. I recommend first.
Yeah.
I want to say this real quick. I'll give it to you, Jack. I recommend everybody to see that full interview. But go ahead.
Right
Jack.
on. Yeah. So Pastas was totally correct on saying that it's a controlled demolition. In fact, the guy I mentioned earlier, Charlie Robinson, wrote a book with another author. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's literally called The Controlled Demolition of the American Empire. It goes over Bretton Woods. It goes over all this stuff. Because, and again, what we're looking at, Bretton Woods, that was the agreement with Saudi Arabia that they would transfer all money in cash, and that's essentially what led to the creation of the petrodollar. People that think that this isn't planned, that the SWIFT system payments, which is used for international transfers, that all of a sudden that gets banned, that's not a planned move to get people into CBDCs like the digital yuan that Saudi Arabia earlier we saw was talking about.
You know
so
what?
he's right about some of this, but
that's a perfect segue, you know, if you wanted to keep going out into that, because I don't know those who know about it, but Biden just signed an executive order. You know,
hold
for
on,
the
before we
crypto.
go into that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do take issue with the narrative that he is espousing. Number one, yes, our political actors are ruggedly stupid, but that's by design. They are meant to look ruggedly stupid. But also, the line of degeneracy and decadence, that is a very dangerous fucking fire that you're playing with, right? This is the same argument that plenty of up-and-coming empires have used throughout time. And I really, really, really don't like it when people use that, because at that point, you're claiming to be a moral authority. And claiming to be a moral authority against one empire in favor of another, that is a dangerous game to play. I don't really like that argument at all, and I think that argument should be opposed when anyone says it. Because it's a convenient cop-out of what Marx would call contradictions. But to continue your segue in, Marcus, we are at the end of an 80-year debt cycle. When was Bretton Woods?
74? No, I think I'm wrong. Oh, I'm thinking of a different. Yeah, I was way off. I was thinking of a different thing.
So almost 80 years ago. Strange thing about capitalism and its contradictions, to use Marx's term again. Debt cycles, there's the 4 to 12 year one, right, where the economy pumps and then it dumps and it pumps and it dumps, right? The cyclical nature of capitalism. But there's an even bigger one that's never actually mentioned, and that's the 80-year debt cycle. Now, if you look back in time, before Bretton Woods and the introduction of the dollar as the world's reserve currency, 80 years before that, just in the United States, we were undergoing civil war and reconstruction. Okay? That time, cotton was such a fucking precious commodity, and we were moving into the industrial age, that they needed to crash the currencies that were using cotton to back their currencies. So there's a financial aspect into our Civil War as well. And before that, Napoleon invaded all of Europe 80 years before that, right? Or not, no, 1780. It's the American Revolution, right? Where they're moving to the pound as the as the world reserve currency kind of thing, right? The currency of trade. So we are in a naturally occurring end of an 80-year debt cycle. They have to get rid of the dollar, because if not, all things are fucked.
And that goes into fictitious capital, because when you look at our system, it's all based on fictitious capital, meaning it's based off this capital that does not exist, that is propped up as an indicator that our economy is growing. When, like, look at GDP, for example. But more so, like, look at futures markets, look at all of these derivatives markets, which are just rolled up different instruments of investments. All this stuff is fictitious. Like nothing went into producing that item. It's just on a computer as a 0 and a 1. It's just in there. So it's kind of like you see the removal. Like, it's just like you were talking about, Shadow, with cotton, also gold-backed currencies. It reminds me of Rome and coin clipping. Just we're seeing that over a much longer term. And it's much more insidious because they don't have to clip any physical coins anymore. They do it digitally. And that's what inflation, in my eyes, basically is for us.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and that's what, like you dovetailed about cotton, and then the fall of gold. Then now we're at the fall of basically oil being our major, what we're backed on, because we're basically backed on the petrodollar, because like he said in there, America is actually bankrupt already. We are just sitting on tons and tons of debt. And how we manage our money is because through our military, we control a lot of the petrodollar. And we control which nations, who deals with who. That's the reason, that's where our power and strength comes from as a nation. And when you're only down to that one leg, manufacturing is already gone. So you can't say, well, we can just produce things now. Gold is already gone. You can't go back to the gold.
And even if we could, it's a completely, I need to make this fucking clear for people. Gold is completely manipulatable, just like any other fucking currency.
Well, just like diamonds were.
But all the fucking gold mines are owned by massive financial institutions. Every time the price of gold goes up, they ramp up production at those mines, and the price of gold goes down. Every time the price of gold is getting too low, they stop production at the mines, and then it stabilizes. Sorry.
That's why there's also a shadow price on gold and shadow prices on most commodities. It's actually, and I could be wrong in this, by studying the shadow price is essentially the indicator of what the actual value is if they had not done exactly what you're talking about, limiting supply and demand artificially.
Yep.
Sorry, limiting supply artificially, not necessarily demand.
Yeah.
Well, that's the reason why, as an economy, we no longer really not actually I remember when I went to school for economics, and I didn't finish economics. I switched on the other stuff, but I did go studying economics when I was going for business. So I studied partially economics. I was going business administration. But anyway, long story short, what you learn is they've switched from what we believe supply and demand, and they believe in supply side economy. Even though they're going to teach you supply and demand in school, you find out when you get actually into business in the actual real world, everything is supply side economy. You want to see this on a small micro level? Go into one of your normal stores and then look at the stacks and stacks and stacks of Cokes which they have in the back. Do they need all those? No, but they bulk supply everything, and that's how all of our market works, whether it's in regular retail or whether we're dealing with steel, whatever it is. That's how everything is running.
Once upon a time,
kind of hit on something like bakeries.
Once upon a time, supply and demand was the organic laws of the market. But with anything organic, you can modify it and you can change it to suit your ends, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now all markets are engineered through supply side economics.
Yep.
And also advertising, everything else. That's part of supply side economics. But
that's why they spend so much on marketing.
Yes, exactly.
Because they have so much. It's exactly like I always refer to it, our economy as the death cult, because that's what it is. Like when you look at bakeries that are throwing out bread and not giving it to people without homes, when you look at restaurants that, just like you were saying earlier, like they're stocking all these things. What happens when those expiration dates hit and they haven't sold all of them? They throw them away.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Right. You don't supply to meet demand. You bolster demand to meet your supply.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, you cut your supply and keep demand current, or cut demand based on advertising. It's all manipulated. It's all engineered.
Well, that's the reason why every
market don't exist anymore.
That's why in school, believe it or not, most colleges, you're learning about Edward Bernays' practices. You're learning about how he manipulated things in propaganda, and goes all the way back to freedom torches.
Yeah.
For those who are not familiar with freedom torches, you should be following some of our older content because we talked about this. But Chris, I want to hear what you got to say, brother.
Well, I mean, these between Jack Shadow and the video, I mean, it kind of covers everything. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but they've the
Beat
rulers
that.
got changed. The the rulers have changes coming, and regardless, no matter how much we protest or say we don't like it, they're gonna force it on us, one way or the other. I mean, we can just see what happened with COVID and how they were able to force a shit ton of shit on us. So anything else going forward, that had to be their dry run. They're going to force anything and everything on us. And if you get too close to the truth and you're on one of these platforms, they'll just remove you from it. If you are someone who has any, for lack of a better word, if you're someone who has any clout of following a platform, they'll just ghost you. If they need to make an example out of you, a la Julian Assange, they will go ahead and do that just the same. The future is going to be one not necessarily by fighting against these people, is going to learn how to sustain yourself and your loved ones and your communities without being part of this shit anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, to add on to that, Chris, and you know what? I just thought about this. I can say this entirely safely without getting myself into too much trouble. If you think about all the policies which we've seen as of late go on, whether it's mask mandates, whether it's COVID mandates, whether it's you need to download this app to be able to do business with us. Think about it. Most cities, you can't even get a cab and pay in cash anymore. You got to have a rideshare app. You got to have Uber. You got to have Lyft. A lot of restaurants are going to, you need to have our app to be able to do this or that. And first it starts off with it. We give you these perks. And if you sign up for our program, you get these perks, and it's going to come to a certain time where it's going to be like, well, we have most of the people enrolled in this. If you're not enrolled in this, you just can't use our service.
And then that old base rate, you just nailed it, Marcus. That like whenever you sign up for like a discount card program or in that's all just to surveil and track you, because what they'll do is the prices, they'll give you a discount at first, yes, but then they just raise the actual price. So when you don't use your card, it's just you end up paying more, and they've got your data after that. But yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Well, and that reminds me of, since we're already talking about that, let me find that other video. Crap, Chris, did I send it to you, the CNBC? I might not have sent it.
I'm double checking. I don't recall seeing that one though.
Let me see. I'll just go into my history. Because I was double checking on this earlier. Yeah, I guess I'll just pull it up. I know I got it in here. Just give me a second.
Just real quick, Mad Marx has said something that's very important.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
President Biden signed an executive order.
On the rate of profit is approaching zero, and essentially talking about the redistribution of, the redivision of imperial blocks to survive, and talking about the contradictions and war being to solve it. That was my greatest fear with all this stuff. After all this stuff that we went through the past 2 years, my first thought was they're going to put us into a war. And I was like, what? Like, I'm thinking in my head, because I'm thinking wag the dog. I'm thinking all this shit in my head. Like, what do leaders do? When leaders fell, like whatever level of failure you want to equate that to, they always send us to war. And a lot of that is the profit system that we have operates on super margin. Just like you were saying earlier about the stocking of Cokes, that's economies of scale. So the store buys more of that product to have economies of scale. Well, when they can't make their fractional profits, war is the only thing that they can usually use to solve that contradiction.
Well, also, let's, before we moved on from that.
Oh, no, we're staying on it.
I really need to stress this, that the more the world changes, the more the world stays the same. This is not anything new.
Yeah.
History did not begin in 1948 at the end of the fucking Second World War, or Third World War, if you would like to include the Silent War or the 7 Years' War.
Yeah.
Empires do this. There's an empire here, and there's an empire here. They do this, and then they do this. And then they do this, and then they do this. And they go back and forth.
Well, actually, what they do is they do this, They do this. They do this. They do this. They rise and they fall.
They rise and they fall. They expand and they recede, and the new guy comes in from this angle, and then this guy comes in from this. There is no fucking liberation. There isn't. This is just empires doing what empires do. This new one in Ukraine, history did not begin in 2014. History did not begin in 1990. History did not begin in 1917. The Ukraine has been the battleground of empires for 2,600 fucking years. I'm actually writing this article. This is nothing new. This has to do with the Black Sea. It's very important.
Explain to him why the Black Sea is important.
The Black Sea is the gate from Eastern Europe and Southwestern Asia. I'm trying to do this mirrored and it's not working. Eastern Europe and Southwest Asia down through the Mediterranean into the rest of the world. It's where a lot of trade goes through. It's also historically where Russia's fleet sits because they don't really have any warm water ports anywhere else in Russia. They're going back to 2,600 years ago. There was something called the steppe route, which is a precursor to the Silk Road. And that was the gate for trade from the west to the east. Going throughout the timelines, the Silk Road shifted south, but eventually there was another route that connected that Silk Road through Uzbekistan to the Azov Sea, the Sea of Azov, right? Back then it was called a lake.
Where eventually the Azov Battalion gets their name from.
Right. Because they claim ethnic fucking ownership of a piece of dirt that a million fucking ethnicities have occupied and whatever. Fucking dumbass. They're anyone that claims ethnic land over and ethnic ownership of dirt is Anyway, but Rostov on the Don, which is at where the Don River meets Azov. Also Kerch, which connects the Black Sea to the Sea of Azov. Sevastopol, which is a deep water port southwest coast of Crimea. And Odessa, which controls a lot of the fucking stuff that comes down the Dnieper River and also the stuff that comes down the Dniester River. Those are all very fucking important points of trade.
Mm-hmm.
Who controls all of those at once? Controls a whole lot of fucking money. And if you would really like to, look up the proposed route for one belt, one road. And look at that route south from Moscow. And what does it look like?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm having... My brain is going to fucking explode here.
No, Thomas.
People are taking this. Yes. 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 I mean, there's...
Actually,
I have to tread lightly on this.
Let me go ahead and read this out so everybody can hear it. The dawn of civilization began in East Asia, Fertile Crescent, India, Mesopotamia, Egypt, and also within that Fertile Crescent is a land known as today as Israel or Palestine. The place of Eurasia, North African trade, that's where it all started, LOL. Also in Meso and Andean Americas. This is vital for us to understand what's going on because the founding of oil in was it 1901 or 1910? I get it sometimes switched around. But when South Europe or getting closer towards that Mediterranean area, and they started discovering oil in those regions, which started leading to a faster acceleration of regime changes before didn't have a problem with the Umayyad Caliphate sitting in that area. But once you found out there's gold there, oil or black gold, then that's
I was
when
just gonna say, when was Sykes-Picot?
Oh, what was that?
Sykes-Picot.
I was just gonna say Sykes-Picot.
Yeah. And so that's where a lot of this has to do with this. A lot of this stuff, because oil is money. We need to always keep that in mind. This is the currency. At one point in time, a war was fought over salt.
Yes, and especially in the age that we live in now, we forget that a lot of these cities are ancient. They're called by something different now. But they're ancient fucking cities that go back 2,600 fucking years, and there's a reason why they keep being resettled and renamed and built up. It's because they're important strategically and economically. All wars are economic.
This caught my attention because I don't know if you guys know, I was a ordnance mechanic, also known as a torpedo man. Putin just sent the Typhoon-class submarine into battle. It can level Kiev in less than 10 minutes. It's carrying hundreds of long-range missiles and torpedoes that can cause insane damage. He's not going to use it for that, though. He's definitely not going to do that. But it is being put there. It is being deployed for a different reason.
I was thinking hypersonics, like just off the top of my head.
Have finally been brought into the fucking theater.
I was just going to bring that up.
Russia has just now fucking finally unveiled the destruction that a hypersonic can cause.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, and there's a reason why the Russian Federation took Crimea in 2014. It had nothing to do with a vote. Sevastopol is very, very fucking important because it's a deep water port, and you need that deep water port to station a navy. And he who controls the northern shores of the Black Sea controls what goes through what is now known as Istanbul, but anciently was known as Constantinople.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't like, and yes, I have to preface this. Unfortunately,
that's why places like the Suez Canal were built. But I mean, that's into another topic, but it's the same topic. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I have to preface this by saying, Nazis are fucking monsters.
Well, where'd it go?
They are fucking monsters, and I fucking despise National Socialism and ethno-nationalism of any sort. But Russia is not entering the Ukraine to save people from those people. Russia has a ruling class. It is not Putin, just Putin, which I'm sure he does hold a certain sway because he's former fucking KGB. He's part of a secret police, which means he knows a lot of things, and he has a lot of fucking dirty tricks, right? That's just the nature of being in a fucking reality. But the Russian ruling class weighed their options because war costs a lot of fucking money, and they're not going to fucking fund a war unless there's a return on investment. Russia does not give a flying fuck about the citizens that are being murdered by Nazis.
No.
The same as Ukraine.
And guys, we're not saying Nazis out of hyperbole. We're talking about literal, actually don't look it up if you don't want to be horrified, but you can if you want. Stefan Fuckface Bandera, right?
Yes.
Who grossed out the SS with the shit that that group did.
Yes.
The people that consider themselves descendants, and they also invert a lot of paganism into this supernatural beliefs to where there's actual, like, I was reading this report where there's actual Nazis that will not work with them because they're too hard line for them. Because in their beliefs, it's in this that Hitler was a god, which is fucking insane. That's their belief, like one of their belief systems.
Well, you know that if you look at some of these interviews, when they're like even on MSNBC, CNN, all these different stations, when they're interviewing a lot of these commanders over there,
and they got to block out the patches.
No, they're not blocking out the patches. Also, they're not. Do you know which photos? A lot of time, I've seen this in at least 3 or 4 of them. You know, they have a. You know how a lot of people have a photo behind them, like.
Yeah, they have Bandera behind them.
They have Stefan Bandera up on the wall behind them.
Dude, the Einsatzgruppen was terrified of them and their fucking radical nature. They are
That's
a
fucking
fucking
insane.
terrifying fucking faction.
That's the equivalent of if let's say
ISIS.
well, let's put it in an American comparison. Let's say your local senator had a literal Klansman on the wall with his hood on. You would be alarmed by that, right? That's the equivalent of
just a little bit.
Yeah. And like it, I feel for only the citizens of Ukraine. I don't give a flying fuck. Like, I give a fuck about civilians. I don't fucking care about Russia, and I don't fucking care about the United States. I only want to see the fucking civilians not be fucking murdered anymore by both fucking sides that are murdering them, right? But it has to be fucking said that, yes, there is an ideological component to this war, but that's your distraction. That's your eye candy. That's meant for you.
Distraction. You reminded me of something. Well, we talked a little bit about. I guess let me pull that other one up. You talked about distractions. Let me bring up something real quick, because our government tells us shit sometimes. You know that? You guys know that? Our government tells on themselves. They don't tell you right away, but they will tell on themselves. This one is from Richard Medhurst. Let me find my notes to remember which part of this video I wanted to show you all. But I actually took there's a couple of little segments there, and you guys can weigh in while I'm looking for this.
So there's a video that we may get to watch later on, but there's a great line from that I just want to state real quick, because it's a great example given by Larkin Rose, and I don't agree with everything that he says, but what he says is very important. He says, why would you be rooting for one serial killer over another? You know, is it because that serial killer only murdered and ate one person, whereas the other only murdered and ate 10? They're both serial killers. If you have principles, then the decision is you're for people, not for serial killers. Like, I'm minimalizing what he was saying, but it was very profound what he said, because he makes this point of, like, if you stand on principles, then you're against war always. There's no justifiable war, essentially.
I guess here we go. Let's pull this up.
Like, I think there's a lot of people that are falling into the trap of glorious and moral Russia that is protecting her people from the scourge of the Nazi evil.
Yeah, it's the coverage on it is either Ukraine is 100% full of Nazis and Russia is, you know, a great country for getting rid of Nazis on their border, or it's Ukraine are a bunch of, you know, angels with halos, you know, and Russia is just straight up the devil. It's too much on one side. There's nuance there. There's certain degrees there. It's not 0 or 100.
Exactly, Chris.
You know, there's a lot of levels there, and there's a lot of interest at play. Trying to figure this out right at this moment to say, exactly, this is what it is. You'd be lying to yourself, much less your audience. You know.
Well, I think it's that
you gotta figure it out.
To come to the realization that there is no fucking superhero, and there is no one coming to save us, and there is no fucking state that you can capture that will save you from the fucking scourge of fucking evil, is a very scary place to be. So people latch on to the fucking please save me mentality, or this person is righteous and just because this person over here is so fucking bad that this person must be the good guy. It has to be the good guy.
And that gets into dualism too. That's a very dualistic thinking. One is bad, so the other must be good. There's no room for nuance.
Correct. I don't like Joe Biden.
Story in the New York Times.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. All right. Are we going to play this? I'm sorry. I don't mean to be chewing on nobody's ear.
I ain't going to kink shame.
Nibble, nibble. Nibble, nibble.
Let me read you the headline. So it says, Russia asked China for military and economic aid for Ukraine war. U.S. officials say
Russia asked China to give it military aid
And thank you very much. I'm not subscribing to the Times, but in any case, they're saying here that Russia has asked China for support in its war against Ukraine. According to whom? According to 2 U.S. officials. So the request included military aid and equipment, but it's not clear what specifically Moscow has requested. Why do you know they requested something, and what does that mean? Anyway, a U.S. official told CBS News on Monday that the request from the Kremlin to Beijing primarily concerns financial assistance, but Russia also inquired about drones. The Russians seem not to have anticipated that they or Ukraine would deploy drones in this conflict, which is one reason they're asking China about them, according to the U.S. officials. The Ukrainians have been using drones, especially Turkish-made TB2 drones, quite effectively. A senior defense official noted in a background briefing Monday. Let me just come out. Okay, the rest of the article, they're basically just saying that Russia's failing so badly they haven't been able to advance. And well, honestly, I mean, this is. This must be one of the best, worst invasions I've ever seen, because the map currently says otherwise. If you look at the Russian advance, that certainly doesn't look like they're losing exactly. How exactly have they almost completed a pin?
Now, just like I talked about before, he's going to go on and explain this, but I figured I'll stop it real quick so I can really break down what he's talking about. This is Russia, how they came in the red. A pincer movement is when you start to circle from the outside and you slowly come in and you clamp down. What they're doing on them is they're moving in bit by bit by bit. It's almost like it's old school siege tactics. It's just being used on a massive level with new technology. That's all that's going on. I don't know if you guys have seen, like, for instance, Game of Thrones. Think about the scene when Jon Snow and their army, they're all trapped in that circle and the men are just dying right and left. Or if you've seen Vikings, when they have that U shape set around them and they're literally pushing them off the edge of a cliff. This is what's happening. And right now, they still got room. But that's going to keep expanding.
Okay.
As they keep expanding, it's going to keep clamping down more and more.
This is what the American media doesn't fully understand. The Russian armed forces have entered this territory multiple fucking times in history. They've done it every single fucking time this exact same fucking way. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is how you take Ukraine. You come up south from Crimea, you come in north from Kursk, and you slowly, gradually move in from the east, but you cut off the supply lines from the south and the north. And this has a term in the Russian military. And actually, that what's his face, that guy that Pasta was interviewing. Whatever the fuck his name.
Gonzalo.
Yeah, Gonzalo. He actually brought it up, and I was very surprised and happy that he did. This is called the cauldron.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The cauldron. And think about it. Do you guys know what a cauldron is and what a cauldron does? It's a giant pot where you cook something.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the lady wanted to put Hansel and Gretel in?
Exactly. Cauldron.
I'm confusing them.
So, and basically, the territory of Ukraine, right? If you don't have the river from the south, if you don't have the Dnieper from the south, and you don't have the Dnieper from the north, then you can't supply the middle unless you go over ground. And because Ukraine is so fucking breadbaskety, right? It's farmland. You're an open fucking target. There's a reason why they're doing this, and if Russia had the intention, if the Russian armed forces and the Russian ruling class had the intention of hammer smash face on Ukraine,
they could have already did that.
Yeah, it'd be gone. I'm just looking at this map right now. Look at it.
They are preserving it because they intend for it to be a vital asset to them later.
Yes.
The U.S. thinks that war is what we did in Iraq. You don't do that to a territory that you intend to occupy and create as part of your fucking Alex. You don't do that to a territory that you intend to incorporate into your grander empire, right? And people are getting mad as fuck with me about calling the Russian Federation an empire. Look, it was born as an empire. It changed names a few times. Its borders have receded and expanded, receded and expanded. It's an empire. It's always been an empire.
And do you guys see this in particular? See this place right here? Which they use this political tactic called Kyiv instead of calling it Kiev.
That's what I was trying to hint at. Yeah.
You see where they are? How close they are to Kiev? What's Jack? Can you tell everybody the significance of why I'm highlighting on how close they are to Kiev?
Well, because essentially, once you bring again, I'm not too versed in military strategy, but just looking at this map, once you come down from Kiev down to Kherson, you've completed the pincer movement, whichever way you do it, because you've encroached and encircled that entire area.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and also don't forget that the Dnieper is a natural barrier. So if you can take Kiev, whatever the fuck they want to call it. I mean, Russia's not fucking a saint in this. They renamed fucking Petrograd, fucking Leningrad, and then they renamed Volgograd, Stalingrad, right? Like, so go, yeah. People that are Soviet stands can go fucking eat my ass if they're throwing a fit about this Kiev shit. Like, go fuck off. Like, you guys do it too. But if you take Kherson, you've effectively cut
shadow energy, kid. I love shadow energy.
Yeah. But if you take Kherson, which coincidentally, that is how the Soviet advance back into Ukraine in 43 went. If you take Kherson, then you cut off the supply from the Black Sea. And if you take Kiev, now you have this massive fucking river that's huge that you can sail supplies down to each other and also station your people across the Dnieper. And actually, if you want to, if you want me to share screen, I actually did bring up map of these rivers. Hold on.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can see on this map, but I'm pretty sure there's a river coming down, a massive one.
Yes, there is. Which you can see a little bit of the water there.
Oh yeah.
Can you see that?
Hold on. Let's see. You see it?
There it is.
So right here is Kherson. This is the gate into the Black Sea. Odessa's over here, right? Kiev's up here.
Yep.
Right. This whole ass area right here. Look at the size of that river. You can sail big fucking boats up that river, right?
Yes.
Yes, you can sail warships up that. So if you can take here and you can take here, you can effectively take this whole area bloodlessly by cutting them off.
Because now you have air superiority and water superiority, and you cut off their drinking. You cut off the supply to their drinking water also.
Exactly.
Seeing this
also,
this kind of line reminds me of it's not a correct parallel, but the divisions of South Korea, North Korea, divisions of like, I think part of my fear is that they'll use this line as their DMZ, the natural land barrier as their DMZ.
They might, but also don't forget that Odessa down here is extremely important. You need Odessa. My thing is, I think they will take.
Isn't that where the oil is for the ports?
Right, exactly. So this is the original line of the Russian Empire in 1914, right? I think.
Right here, Shadow. Hear that comment?
Hold on, I'm sharing screen, so I can't.
I'll tell you what it says. Wait till Transnistria enters the picture. It sits west of Odessa. It's a breakaway region of Moldova.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks,
right?
Matt.
the original line of the Russian Empire is this river, the Dniester, right? This area is called Bessarabia. It's been Russian and then Austro-Hungarian and then fucking every other goddamn empire going back 2,600 fucking years. But this right here, this is the dividing line for the original Russian Empire. Now, if you just try to take up here on the Dnieper, then you only absorb eastern Ukraine and you don't get Odessa. You need to come here to the Dniester to get Odessa, and you have to take it up here. Lvov is up here somewhere, and that is the actual, like...
Shadow, put that back up again.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
I wanted to point out something. How easy it is. Once you get to that point of taking Kiev. Or actually, I can put it back on this one. Don't worry. I can show it right here. You guys remember where those lines were? You see the right here? You see how that comes down? Once you come down, you're right here back into the Black Sea. Once you sail a fleet through there, now you can easily take Odessa by water.
Yes.
That's checked.
Well, they can already take Odessa by water because they have Sevastopol.
Well, yeah, I know they could come around this way, but it's so once you come here, it's so much easier. See, when they come around this way, you still got to deal with the U.S. can, not the U.S., but NATO forces can still come at you from this angle.
Exactly.
From here, that's a straight shot.
Right.
Mr. Streets has a question for the panel. Go ahead and ask the question. Here, I'll get this video finished. Finish with this part she was talking about, because we kind of broke it down. He's going to kind of go into a little bit more.
Movement. They've encircled the capital and Kharkiv, so the two biggest cities, and yet they're failing. I don't understand that. But in any case, let's go on to the claim, because they're saying that Russia is begging China for help. Like, oh, they're in such dire straits that they need to go begging for military assistance and economic aid. I think this is BS. I think this is complete BS. And there are several telltale signs. How do we know that this is BS? How can you sniff out the mainstream media diarrhea? Well, first of all, the Russians are one of the world's top arms dealers. This is nothing new. This is, since the Cold War, there are literally tons of countries that have Russian weapons. I can just give you Syria as an example, India as an example, Ukraine. Turkey just bought from Russia recently the S-400, which has been used in Ukraine now apparently for the first time in a combat situation, which is these are surface-to-air missiles. So many countries have Soviet equipment, indeed Soviet. I don't mean Russian, because it's from the Soviet era, and also, of course, modern Russian equipment. So why the hell would the Russians go and buy equipment from the Chinese when Russian soldiers are trained to use Russian equipment? They're not trained on Chinese equipment. I think this is completely absurd. That makes absolutely no sense. Look at the market share. This is between 2016 and 2020. Okay, the market share of the leading exporters of major weapons by country. So the United States is number one, of course, no surprise there. They have 37% of the market share when it comes to arms exports. And who's next? Russia. Russia is 20%. Russia's second place. And where's China? China's all the way down here, 5%. So I mean, Russia's exports of arms dwarf China's, right? 4 times higher. And you're telling me the Russians don't have any weapons all of a sudden, and they have to go begging for weapons that their soldiers don't know how to use? That makes absolutely no sense. Let me give you another way that you can see that this is complete BS. Look at the headline. They say Russia asks China for military help in war with Ukraine. According to whom? According to U.S. officials. A U.S. official. According to the U.S. official. And of course, all of this has nothing to do with the story. They're just giving you background information here about what kind of drones they use in Ukraine. And then here they're saying that Russia's being bogged down. It's nothing to do with the request, the actual request from Russia to China, or let's say the alleged request, the supposed request. So the entire story comes from who? Did it fall out the sky?
No, that's the point which I wanted to go to. That this whole thing is being told to you by U.S. officials. Now, let me skip to this last part here. Oh, shoot. Where is it? Yeah, roughly there. and get a load of this audio here.
And misinformation. This goes a long way back. This is nothing new. This is about Vietnam that he's talking about. Take a look.
There are other functions, however, some of them more legitimate than others. One is to run secret wars. Another thing is to disseminate propaganda to influence people's minds. And this is a major function of the CIA. And unfortunately, of course, it overlaps into the gathering of information. You have contact with a journalist. You will give him true stories. You'll get information from him. You'll also give him false stories. You also work on their human vulnerabilities to recruit them in a classic sense, to make them your agent so that you can control.
It's called
what they do. So
human intelligence.
Sort of,
I think
by putting one over on them, so you can say, "Here, plant this one next Tuesday."
Can you do this with responsible reporters?
Yes, the Church Committee brought it out in 1975, and then Woodward and Bernstein put an article in Rolling Stone a couple of years later. 400 journalists cooperating with the CIA, including some of the biggest names in the business, to consciously introduce the stories into the press.
Well, give me a concrete example of how you use the press this way.
Well, for example, in my war, the Angola War that I helped to manage, 1/3 of my staff was propaganda. I had propagandists all over the world, principally in London, Kinshasa, and Zambia. We would take stories which we would write and put them in the Zambia Times, and then pull them out and send them to a journalist on our payroll in Europe. But his cover story, you see, would be that he'd gotten them from his stringer in Lusaka, who had gotten them from the Zambia Times. But after that point, the journalists, Reuters and AFP, the management was not witting of it. Now, our contact man in Europe was. And we pumped just dozens of stories about Cuban atrocities, Cuban rapists. We didn't know of one single atrocity committed by the Cubans. It was pure, raw, false propaganda to create an illusion of communists, eating babies for breakfast.
Very interesting, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
And so what he's talking about there, he didn't mention it by name, but that's Operation Mockingbird. When he refers to the Church Committee, that's what he was referring to.
Yeah, so that, I wanted to show you guys that because for anybody who thinks, oh, you guys are all just conspiracy theories and most people conspiracy theories, here is a government official telling you. And then remember not that long ago, Pompey, remember him talking about the lying?
You mean we lie, we cheat, we steal Pompeo?
Yeah. This is the government that a lot of these people are listening to and taking this information from. Mr. Street, you asked who were the Ukrainians before Ukraine? Who are the people there now? A lot of the people who, which depends on which period are you talking about?
I've been researching this.
Depends on which period. Go ahead, Shadow. You can take it.
So there was an original people there that the Greeks called the Taurians, and the Greeks said that these Eastern barbarians were into human sacrifice and eating children and blah, 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 blah. And then there was, I got to tread lightly here, an Indo-European people from the Asian steppe. They were called the Scythian people.
Which I want to say real quick on the Atarians. I think that the Indo-European people came after.
Yes.
Put out there about that they were cannibals. I honestly believe it's more possible that those Indo-Europeans who came in there were more likely the cannibals, but let historians argue about that later. But
I don't know how you say it, the Scythians or the Scythians or the whatever the fuck. But so there was the Scythians
and the Slavs.
No. There's more than that.
Well, later on, Slavs came into
the Scythians, and then the Sarmatians, which was the Scythian tribe, took over. And then after that, there was the Gothic invasion from Central Europe and Sweden and shit, right? And then after that, there was the Huns, and then after that, there was the Khazars.
The Khazarian cognate. Yes.
And then there was the Vikings, the Kievan Rus.
Well,
And after that came the Slavs.
Because the Huns took over that area too before the Khazarians.
Yes, the Huns basically smashed everything in their fucking path in the Asian steppe. They came from the east with the quickness and fucking ruined everything. And then well, I don't say that as like a fucking like Eastern barbarian thing. Like they smashed everything in their fucking path because they were the Huns. Mm-hmm. Then after the Slavs were there, a new people came from the east, known as the Golden Horde, the Mongols, and they fucking wrecked the fucking place. And then
later on,
the Magyars, whatever the fuck they're called, another people from the east who are now known as the Hungarians. Right. And then the Slavs came back south. Like, there is no fucking people that have any ethnic right to that fucking land.
Don't forget about the Rus, and then eventually became.
I said the Kievan Rus, the Vikings, right?
And then you had for a time period they were called Magog also.
Right. So I mean, no ethnicity has that right to that fucking land. It's been invaded and settled by every fucking different corner of the fucking world a million fucking times over.
We forgot this also. Don't forget the Moors did take a portion of that area also too.
The Ottomans, yes.
The Moors literally, like a lot of, they'll show you like, oh well, the Moors were just in like south in the Mediterranean, like they were just in like Italy or something, or they were just in France, or maybe a couple in England. No, the Moors, when they had their time period, which was a mixture of people, we can go into that another discussion, but they literally were all the way from what's modern day UK all the way across to modern day Russia.
Yes. Yes. So that's significantly, and it's significant because there's always been ethnic tension there. To shit on one of the Marxist gods for a minute, fucking Friedrich Engels, once upon a time wrote in the Magyar struggle that the German and Magyar people will rise up and evict the Slavic barbarians from their territory in the Black Sea. I know Marxism is like this big, the liberatory thing, but yes, fucking Friedrich Engels was very fucking racist.
But if we want to go into Marxism, we can't talk about Marxism without talking about how the Marxists were funded and how they actually rose up in the first place, going to Lenin and Trotsky. But I mean, we can go on and on about that.
Well, and also like east of the Dnieper is like a very different ethnic population, but all of that also has to do with Alexander III and his policy of Russification that continued on into continued on into the Stalinist era, with certain ethnic people being evicted, the Tatars being one of them, and ethnic Ukrainian and ethnic German people being deported east to the Urals and moving in Russian people so that you could fucking claim ethnic fucking rights to the land, just like the U.S. did the same fucking thing here. Like,
well, because a lot of these major empires, they all did the same. And I mean, if you go down into the Levant, you had the Babylonians, which did that, the Medo-Persians that did that. I mean, it's the same thing that all of these different empires would do. And then eventually when the Greek Empire rose after they overtook the Persian Empire, they did the same thing, and they took it from just being in that Mediterranean area part of Europe, which was the only really majorly kind of actual civilizations and kingdoms for the most part. I'm not saying there weren't people in these other areas, but they weren't established yet, because at that time Rome was like a backwater town. I mean, there were people there and they were basically living in the forest. They didn't have, the Rome that we think of. And so once you started to have the decline of the Greek Empire as they got themselves stretched out over the four kingdoms, were that the Seleucids? I'm trying to remember. I think the four Seleucid kings, and then they all start trying to want to be like Alexander. They They said, no, it's not good enough that I just own my area here or the Ptolemaic dynasty here. I want to have it all like Alexander did, and that led to their collapse. And then you had the rise of the Roman Empire, and the Roman Empire, which breaks into what is all modern day Europe now.
Well, and to take it, Sebastopol, as it's known now, was known by another name. That name was Chersonesos, which was a Greek colony. Okay. Also, Kerch was
one of these days.
Oh, dude, I'd love to. Like, I'm actually working on the article right now. I'm up to the Huns right now. But
we can me and Shadow can definitely go in. I'm pretty sure Jack has a lot that he can add in on that too. Going into Marxism and its early creation. A lot of people don't know that even Karl Marx was considered a self-hating Jew. Now, I didn't come up with this term. People say that themselves. I'm just prefacing that some people in history have called him that because he started criticizing certain people which were propping up some of these organizations and institutions and things like that, which we can get down a whole rabbit hole of a bunch of things, you know.
Yeah. But
how come? Let's see.
That's the class to go to if anyone speaks out.
Christian mythology. Well, what happened is the Greeks started infusing their mythology into what was known as the biblical texts now. There, for instance, that's the reason why in the Bible it starts talking about hell and Hades and stuff like that. If you go into the Hebrew, what it actually says for it's the word Sheol, which the Sheol actually means the grave. It does not mean a fiery furnace, and that goes into Hades, which goes into Greek mythology. Also, for instance, the name Jesus, which it wasn't Jesus because there was no J up until J just came around 420 years ago or something like that, 430 years ago. But before it was Iusis, and which went back to Zeus. That's where that comes from. And then the reason why people, a lot of Christians go to church on Sundays, that goes back to Apollo, the sun god. And so
I was going to say, you hit on something. Sol Invictus. Sol Invictus, Roman, when they wanted to use the sun god, they just inverted with the halo, Sol Invictus, the Roman sun god.
See what happened.
Coincidentally, you always see the halo over the pictures.
Yeah. What happened is Constantine, Constantine, they literally took a lot of their pagan beliefs and then mixed that in with Bible, because at that point in time you had Israelites who were living in that area in Corinth and all kind of different parts of Greece and in certain parts of Italy and all that. And to fuse their beliefs with the beliefs of the pagans, they started mixing these things. This is where the virgin birth, this is where all of these things all come into play, because it all is a mixture of Greek mythology being infused into Christian beliefs. Whereas a lot of people don't even actually know what the hell that the Bible's talking about because they've been fed so much Greek mythology.
That is such a great point, because just studying world religions, it occurred to me like so much how when I was actually going to the source documents, I was actually learning stuff and I was able to do well in that class. But when I was going off of the course material, which is very like minimalized, very reductionist, I couldn't learn anything because it's a narrative. Like I was being taught the narratives and all these things.
And you know the guy who forced a lot of this, because it's kind of funny. You brought up the city which is named after him, Constantine. Constantine pushed a lot of this stuff, not all of it. Some of everybody always goes to the which council I'm thinking of, Council of Nicaea, but it's not the Council of Nicaea. It's the Council of Carthage in North Africa. That's where a lot of this stuff was put together. And at that time, it was under the Ptolemaic dynasty, which were Greeks who were ruling Egypt and parts of North Africa. So that's where a lot of this comes from. And then the Council of Nicaea is just them deciding which parts of the canon that they wanted to it wasn't even deciding which parts of the canon they want to keep in. It starts going into Easter and things like that. It says, I heard Easter and Halloween is from paganism. Yes, 150%. In the Bible, every Bible you will see now, it's going to say Easter in the Bible. It does not say Easter in the original text.
says Passover, or it would say Pesach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's Passover, not Easter.
Which goes into Ishtar.
And Ishtar goes into more paganism beliefs. A woman who believed that she was literally born from an egg. She believed that she came from the moon, and she was, yes, Ostara. And she believed that she was born of a virgin birth from an egg, basically. And that goes into crap, I'm forgetting his name right now, Nimrod. And so, I mean, we one of these days we'll have to, get into religion. You guys come over here.
Religion's a fun one.
Page, and I'll break down some of this stuff in my live stream. I'll let you guys just fire away all the questions you have. It's getting kind of late.
Awesome.
I'm sorry. I
want to wear my boy out up there. I know it's late over there for Chris.
Do we have time? Do you guys have time for 5 minutes just to do the opening of that Larkin Rose video? Just because he hammered home just exactly what we said.
I think I still have it up. Hold on.
Yeah, let me get that to you.
No, you already sent it to me.
Oh, awesome.
I think you already sent it to me. Let's see. Larkin Rose. There we go.
And I stand with the people of Ukraine and the people of Russia and people all over the world who are just minding their own business, trying to live their lives in peace, and who aren't focused on violently dominating and controlling other human beings. Unfortunately, as simple as that may sound, most people seem incapable of grasping that very simple principle. A whole lot of Americans will no doubt say, well, don't you condemn Russia? What Russia did? No, I don't condemn Russia. Russia is a place. Places don't attack people and don't hurt people. I'm not mad at Russia. I'm not mad at the Russian people because only a small percentage of them were actively involved in what's going on. Now, what is going on? If you think you know what's going on, you almost certainly don't. But there's two things about that. First of all, the mainstream media has been reporting a bunch of things that are just bald-faced, obviously fake news. They've literally been using pictures and video from years ago, mischaracterizing what it is. They've literally been using video from video games and reporting it as, look what at the atrocities happening in Ukraine. I'm not saying bad things aren't happening there. I'm saying if you're in America and you're getting your information from the mainstream media, one, you don't have any idea what's going on there. They are absolutely lying their asses off. It doesn't mean bad things aren't happening. Two, the only reason they are telling you about that and making you focus on that and telling you how much you should care and should wave a flag of a country you don't know anything about is for their agenda, for the agenda of the U.S. ruling class. That's the only reason. They don't give a shit about the innocent victims of this or any other conflict. How do I know? Well, let's see. Yemen. If you're the average American, you're going, what? Yeah, exactly. You don't know what's going on in Yemen and the mass slaughter of innocent civilians because it's being done by a ruling class, not a country, a ruling class, and the individual thugs under it that is currently buddies with the U.S. ruling class, namely Saudi Arabia. So when they commit heinous atrocities, the U.S. media, ever loyal to the ruling class whose butt they kiss, isn't going to tell you to be upset about that. Though it's okay if those people get murdered. Every once in a while on page 57, we'll run a one-paragraph thing saying, oh, it's too bad what's going on. Hi, guys.
Hello.
But the fact that they bombard you day and night with, oh, be concerned about Ukraine, be concerned about Ukraine. They don't give a shit about the people of Ukraine. They don't give a shit about the truth. And I know because so many people they look at news the way an imbecile would watch a football game. Rah, rah, rah for that team. Boo to that team. Yay, Ukraine. Boo, Russia. First of all, Americans, by and large, you have no stinking idea about anything having to do with that area. And I have hardly any of an idea. I actually looked into it a little bit. Ukraine has been this mess for many, 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 many years of people arguing about which set of authoritarian control freaks should get to violently dominate everybody. That is a question that doesn't have a right answer. They're bickering between communists and literally Nazis. And if you pick a side and go rah, rah, rah for that side, you're an idiot. And if you go rah, rah, rah for the other side, you're still an idiot. If you go rah, rah, rah for the people who just want to live in freedom, good for you. That's called having a principle. But both sides of any conflict between ruling classes are bad. Now, are they a same amount of bad? Well, they committed more than blood. Who cares? That doesn't affect the principle. It's like saying, well, there were these two serial killers. This guy killed and ate 10 people, but that guy killed and ate 27 people. So we're on the side of the guy who killed and ate 10 people. Not if you know what a principle is. You're against both of them. And you're against both of them 100%. You're not slightly less against the guy who only killed and ate 10 people, or even only one. He only murdered and ate one of his neighbors. That's fine. That's not how principles work. The psychos who claim the right to rule in Russia are evil psychos. Putin on down. The psychos in Ukraine arguing over who gets to rule are evil psychos. But that's been true all over the world. It's true here. It's been true everywhere forever. If you get tricked into thinking in terms of packs, cheering for giant numbers of people and against giant numbers of people, A, without having any idea what's going on, and B, lumping together all the people who just happen to live within an arbitrary line, then you're just being an idiot. And I see so many Americans being absolute idiots. We're not going to sell Russian vodka until, if the rest of the world applied that stupid thinking to the U.S., nobody would ever buy anything from the U.S. The U.S. government is freaking evil. It has caused so many strikes. It has murdered so many civilians in dozens of different countries. For any American who hasn't spoken out against U.S. imperialism around the world to pretend they give a shit about Ukraine being invaded, give it up. Quit your virtue signaling bullshit. You pay taxes that fund the machine that has done far worse than whatever is happening in the Ukraine. Just in terms of numbers. It's just as evil. Like I said, murdering and oppressing people, whether you do it to 1 or 100, is all the way evil. It's just statistics of how many victims you have. That's the difference. But for Americans to pretend we stand with Ukraine, did you stand with the however many million Iraqi civilians that were murdered by the U.S. war machine? Oh, well, that was spreading freedom. There's another piece of stupidity and people can argue back and forth, oh, Putin's trying to liberate them. No, he's trying to oppress them. The U.S. is trying to liberate. Governments don't ever liberate anybody. This shouldn't be that difficult to comprehend. The government that claims the right to rule you and take your money and control your choices doesn't want you free. It's not going to liberate you. If it wanted to liberate you, it would start by liberating you from itself. But they don't, ever, because they don't give a shit about people being free. They give a shit about who they get to rob and control and dominate. It's true of the US. It's true of every ruling class everywhere. So if you believe jackasses like Biden or any other puppet, left or right, saying we have to go into Ukraine to help free the Ukrainians, they don't care about people being free. Their job is literally to violently deprive people of their freedom. That is what politicians do. They exert the force of law to steal the money and the freedom from human beings. The idea that they are now brave, noble crusaders off to defend someone's freedom is just stupid. And if you're still falling for it at this point, you're just stupid too. Grow the fuck up. The psychos on both sides, communist, Nazi, and by the way, they're pretty much the same thing. National socialism and socialist nationalism, and who cares? It's all authoritarian collectivism. It's all people saying, for the common good, this small group of people gets to violently dominate everybody else. That's bogus. That's immoral. And to blame the people who are stuck living under the psychos who say that for what the psychos do is just idiotic. If you're mad at Russia and the Russian people, we're not going to do this. We're going to boycott this Russian thing. We're not going to use Russian dressing. I saw that one. I don't even know if that one was a joke or not, because people really are doing the thing of, we're not going to sell Russian vodka. You really think the guys driving the tanks in their spare time are making vodka and selling it to you? Or maybe it's other individuals who aren't doing that. And by the way, there's a bunch of people in Russia who are like, we don't like what's going on. So you're punishing them too. The irony of that is that you are cheering for the violence of government to harm innocent people while thinking you're standing up against the violence of government harming innocent people. Let me say that again, because most people can't think clearly enough to understand this very simple thing. Government sanctions, or any other stupid thing they call them, saying we are not going to let person A sell to person B. We are going to use the force of law and military might to stop that from happening in the name of protecting somebody. They're the aggressor. If you're cheering for sanctions that harm all of the people in Russia, you are cheering for immoral authoritarian aggression that's harming innocents.
Figure that's a good place to put a button in that. You guys really need to check that one out. I wanted to show, just bear with me a little bit longer, okay? I know my boy Chris is getting a little back bothering him real quick, but just give me about 2 minutes. I just want to show you guys something that I know you have not seen or looked at all. This is a look inside of Russia. This is a channel which I check out. He is a non-political person, but this was talking about 2 weeks after the sanctions in Russia. I just want to show you a couple minutes of this. I'll skip through it. Let me see if it's on the screen. All right. Oh shit. Did I share it? Okay, there we go. Okay, it's on the screen. My screen started freezing up for some weird reason, but here we go.
Durables. We are simple Russian family. Susie, Dan, Sati baby is sleeping, playing with our granny. Oh, and now we are going to show you very interesting store. It is a very big store for middle class people.
What the heck?
It's not the most cheap, and it's not the most expensive. In Russia, we have cheap stores, expensive stores. It is a for strong.
Yeah, I do not know why my signal is so crappy.
Mini beer factory here. Okay, Durables, we are in this store, and now we are going to show you how it looks inside here. What we have here, it is a toys. Toys. Dippers. Кози тапочки. In Russian, тапочки. What we have here.
All right, wow. Let's try to give it a moment. Wow, it's going crazy.
Getting too much truth out, man.
It's a lot of chemical stuff. Underwear. Susie's favorite department.
You guys see any of that?
Susie, it's your favorite department. Castrule.
Yep. All right. I guess it doesn't want to let me show it, but I will go on ahead and guys just tell you what it was there, and tell you where you guys can find it. The name of that page, the name of his channel is Dan Skiots. It's DAN Dan.
It's Dan Skiots. You push button. You push button before Putin come for you. You must do it, he said.
Don't
Stores
even get
are
me
fine.
started on borscht.
Yes.
Everything good. Everything good.
SHEEKOZ. And he goes inside of what almost looks like, say, like almost like a Sam's Club over there. I mean, it literally looks just like what you would have here. And he was showing prices. Some things are a little expensive that you would expect, like a coconut was going to be expensive in Russia. But he went to a pineapple, and the pineapple was like $1.80. I mean, the coconut was like $5, and then some stuff was like dirt cheap. A lot of their liquor was very cheap. Tires were very cheap, and so make sure you guys check that. In fact, I'm gonna type it in. So
it's important to get those perspectives too, like because it's kind of like what Larkham was saying. It's like find out what people on the ground who maybe oppose this are saying, or find out what the conditions on the ground are from from people.
That's why I wanted to search out and find that, because when I was active duty in the military and I was in Europe, I had the ability to be able to talk to people in, well, not only Europe, but you know, in the theater down there too. When I'm saying the theater, I'm talking about the Middle East. But when you're able to talk to people on the ground, you're able to get a very, very different perspective than what you see on CNN or any of these places. I mean, it was a point when Al Jazeera used to be pretty straight, and now I can't even listen to half the shit that comes out of there. So, you know, I just wanted to say that and put that out. I don't know. Let me try it one more time, see if I could just show you a little bit of it, because that was weird. I have never seen it do that before, and maybe it could just be where it is from.
If you do not stop sanctions, we will start to impose nasty tariffs on borscht.
Let's see.
Was that the video, or did someone say that was good? I couldn't tell.
Skоворodka.
Yeah, I guess it's not going to let me show this.
Pen, yes?
Yeah, they're going to throttle the shit out of it, dude.
Minimize or close it and reopen it. Your buffer cache could be full.
Plates.
Let's click on it again.
In English, pen, yes? Pen. Половник. Plates.
No.
Spoons and forks. From $2 to $3 for 4 and 5 pieces.
Yeah, that's weird. We can hear the audio.
And blankets with blue.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend. Hopefully people go and check this out. I mean, it's very, very insightful. He has a couple of new ones up now where it's talking about which companies have left or are rumored to leave. I mean, the guy's talking about how, we're just sitting out, going to coffee shops and everything. It is still kind of life is normal. So they're not even really tripping about much of anything. Oh, shoot. Glory comes right at the end.
Glory.
You there, Glory Jones. But yeah, thank you everybody who tuned in. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. I'm probably going to try to cut this up and put these into a couple of shorter clips throughout the week. I see everybody else does it. So I'm going to start trying to do that a little bit more now that our segments kind of are staying kind of on topic and it's not bouncing around too much. It's a little easier to be able to just take a 20-minute, 30-minute segment and just put it up there. So thank you for tuning into this. Hopefully you guys catch, go back and check out the interview we did earlier with Tara Reid, and also look forward to seeing Tara come back. She agreed to come back on the channel, so we're definitely want to have her back and talk about a ton more issues and topics.
It's a great interview, man.
Oh, thank you, sir. And we got a couple of other things that I'm planning in the works, a couple of other interviews. I haven't got back to Blue Moon Red Wine, but I will be having her on soon. Yes, Independent Left News is in the building. Yes, I want to do a little bit more coordination with some of those people over there on INN, just like I enjoy doing with Mi Casa Su Casa. So y'all please look out for more of that and more interviews. So that said, this has been a political matrix. Oh, wait a minute. Before I close everything out, fellas, you guys got anything would you like to, put out before we hop off here?
Sure. So we've got a few things in the works. Shadow's doing an amazing thing, just like we were talking about earlier, where he's going to actually go over Ukraine from a detailed perspective and actually go over the history. Some other stuff we're working on, obviously looking at the legislation, things like that, but also kind of looking at, like, when you start writing something on something like mass formation or a term like that, and then you see another one dead ass come in right afterwards, it's kind of interesting to have to write on. But really, it's just kind of just trying to tie things together, show people some of the history.
Yeah. I'm knee deep in researching centuries and centuries of fucking history. So it's not easy to write that article. But I'm trying to wrap it up as soon as I can. But it's, like I said, it's not easy. And then also trying to compress all that information into like a short enough read, but long enough to go into depth on some things.
We want to have you on when you do that, definitely.
Cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I might have to write an entirely separate article. I might have to write Planet Earth versus the Black Serpent Part 2 and fucking tie that in to what's
with the
happening
Nord Stream,
in Ukraine, because we didn't actually get to that here. And then also,
so that means you just got
to, as in the programmable digital yuan.
Yep.
And how that all ties together with everything, what the actual significance of natural gas and coal is. There's a whole lot of shit that I got to get to. But, I'm also a fucking 40-hour-a-week guy, and I have a family. And,
Same here. Yeah.
But it's always nice to come back.
What's up, Lucky? I see Lucky out there. Oz Whistles. Hey, how we doing? And Sai, got anything to drop for the people? This man has been working like crazy all week. Been talking to him. This dude is getting off on the West Coast, and he's getting off of work at the same time I'm getting off of work, and I was getting off late. So I'm like, what the hell? I mean, I don't know. Maybe Very need to go check out your boss. Maybe she got some dominatrix stuff going on with you right now.
Yeah, that's some funny shit. Yeah, man, just really been working a lot. But it's all good. I actually had a day off yesterday, and I got a day off on Monday. I finally put in time. I don't remember the last time I had a day off, but yeah. But then, you take the day off and you still got mad shit to do, and it's kind of like, damn, at work, it's like, I didn't have to do all this shit. So you gotta be careful what you ask for, you know what I'm saying? As far as having anything, no, I think you guys covered everything. There's nothing left to say at this point in time. I mean, there's always a lot left to say, but as far as the show goes, there's not much left to say on any of these matters now. I mean, things will develop on pretty much everything we talked about. We come back here next week, pretty much. Yeah, if it's not Signs, what's up? this time next week, when we talk, certain things will change, and most of it won't. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how it is. I don't know. I think we had a good show. It was cool of Tara to come through. That was nice. Shit getting real in Florida. Yeah. It is. And all these people from out of town, they piss me off, man. They turning me into Mr. Grumpy for real. No parking. They
I'm gonna
fucking
send you a
shit up,
sign.
man.
Get off my lawn.
You should see me during Balloon
Oh, you
Fiesta. I am a grumpy fuck, just like, get out of my goddamn state, you fucking fucks.
I'm telling you, I'm really like, I'm trying not to turn into Mr. Wilson here, but it's like, geez, Louise.
You're gonna start turning into
I
them.
love Mr. Wilson. Shout out to Mr. Wilson. Pakistan.
You're gonna start sounding like those Floridians when I used to do our armored truck, and I go out to like Ocala and all these funky spots out in the middle of nowhere. They see like a Boston tag pull up, and they're like, "God damn Yankees!"
Correct. Yeah. There's a lot of people down here, and it's just like, go back home.
That's for you, Chris.
Pro tip: either sub or down picking poison.
Kelly.
Yo, Kelly's good. Well, if I have to pick, well, I know what I'm not going to be.
I don't like false dichotomies.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Oh yeah,
But,
and I guess I'll.
but look, we don't like false dichotomies, but you're gonna sing this song, Anime. You're gonna eat that cake. So.
Anime.
What song? New York Frame of Mind? New York State of Mind? Sorry.
That's a good one too. I'm not gonna argue there. That's a good one.
For those of you that aren't
Ruby
in the political matrix, there's a ongoing feud between me and Chris over Nas versus Jay-Z.
Versus Jay-Z. I'll say it because it hurts Shadow just to say the name.
Fucking Jay-Z. Fucking Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm.
Well, are you suggesting some Illuminati shit?
Hey man, I ain't suggesting shit. It's in his own music video.
I know. Right?
Well, it's in his song.
And the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna go there, we might as well throw in the other one of the biggest goofball in there, since he's in the news right now. Kanye West.
Hey, that guy's too stupid to be Illuminati.
I'm gonna tell you what. I can't say this song, but I'm gonna type it in the chat. Look up this song. I don't want to get us in trouble by saying it out loud, but look up this song. You will need a warning to get through it.
Which song is that?
By the Deacon.
Oh,
you know what song I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
I'll just send it to you. I'll send
All right.
it. I will not say this out loud because I don't want to get myself in trouble. I know this person, he got himself kicked off of Instagram for saying this about Don Lemon, I guess. Not Don Lemon. Not Don Lemon, which he probably could fall in that category.
Oh.
Trevor Noah.
Don't say his name.
Who, Juicy? Who, Juicy?
Juicy Smollett?
Juicy. I keep it juicy.
Yes.
I eat my subs.
That's the name of the song I just put in the chat. I won't say it out loud. Just say he changes his name for a slur. And if you know you got the right song, it's going to be a warning that is going to say, actually, let me pull it up my phone and let me read what the warning tells you. Because it literally gives you a specific warning before you click on this song. It says, the following content has been identified by the YouTube community as inappropriate or offensive to some audiences. That should be like a green light saying you definitely need to hear the song. And it is
That's like built-in advertising.
Yeah. I mean, like, all right. And that's my shit, man. Okay. I don't even like the song, but you said I
Well,
could.
now that I can't see it or like it, now I like it.
Yeah, see, there's literally a warning. You see the image? Oh, can you see there what it says, the name of it?
Response, Get Out, Kanye West.
Oh, it doesn't say, yeah. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. You guys go check that song out.
I mean, Going West.
Yes, Going West. Like I said before, I guess who was it? It was one other thing I wanted to. Oh yeah, Sabby Sabs coming up soon. Make sure you guys, as soon as you guys see it up, make sure you hit the notification or whatever it is so it'll alert you. But yes, we will have Sabby Sabs coming on sometime soon. So look for that. And I got a big interview which I have planned, a high profile person who is planning on gracing our little tiny platform with their presence. You guys are definitely gonna want to see this interview. Very knowledgeable person, and we're gonna get into a lot of topics when we get them on there. So a lot coming for this channel, a lot more interviews, more collaboration, and then there's just gonna be me and Chris getting back to some of the basics of what we used to do on here. And between that, thank you everybody who's new, who popped in. Thank you everybody who's going to view this later. This has been The Political Matrix. I'm your host, Young Morpheus, Marcus Cage. There with my man ShadowBanned giving you the salute. Cy Lawson up there holding it down, saluting you out. And we know Jack is giving you the silent salute. I said this is The Political Matrix.
Shadow, thanks for coming by, guys. I appreciate it.
Much love to everybody out there. Y'all have a good night. Don't get into too much trouble, or as long as it's good trouble, right?
Orale.